Oh, yeah. Can you dig it? Well, hello, Untethered Live family. Welcome to the show. What's going on with your bad self? I seem to have a issue with my camera. Hang on a second. I gotta fix that. Apparently, I was playing with Rumble last night, and apparently it messed up my visual a little bit here. Hang on, let me get rid of that. Oh, that's better. Still a little vibraty, but it'll work. All right, what's going on? Happy Friday. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jake Johnson. Tonight's Untethered Live chill stream. Come on in, take your shoes off. Amanda says, hi, Untethered Live family. Good to see y'all. Happy Friday. I hope everyone had a good week. Hi, Jake. How are you tonight? Fat and sassy and out of cigarettes. Other than that, wonderful. Had a nice big old fat steak dinner with a baked potato and some other stuff, broccoli and cheese and whatever that other thing was. It was delicious. Excuse me. Lovely. Amanda says, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. Nope, that's not what the title is about. I know it's the tagline, who you gonna call? There's something strange in the neighborhood, but I'm talking about spaceflight. I'm talking about chicks in space. I'm still hung up on that from last week. Last Wednesday I talked about it. And, tonight I'm going to talk about it because it keeps getting better. I have a nice, lovely hot cup of coffee with me. This is a regular cup of joe. That's the way I like it for show. Thank you to the people that provide the coffee for the show. Don't you want to have a cup with me? If so, go to the kitchen, pour yourself up a nice hot cup of coffee, and let's get this conversation blowing. If you don't have a cup, you can get one in the description below. I recommend the first one. It has my face on it. It is fantastic, but there are a lot of new options down there. Go check it out, including, but not limited to, stainless steel tumblers with an Untethered Live Bible Study logo on the front and a locking lid. It holds your coffee hot for hours, and if you put it on your coffee table, it looks great there, and if you chuck it at somebody, it'll leave a mark, so get one while supplies last. Also, please like, subscribe, share, support, join, and super chats are available in the chat box if you want to show a little bit of love. You want to throw a little clang-a-lang my way. If you want to, you can do that right there. Or if you would like for me to get all of it, CashApp, $JakeJohnsonband. I appreciate that. And one last thing. If you would like to have a place to hang out outside of the YouTubeverse, outside of their censorship and oppression, outside of me having to read every word that you write, and you just want to send pictures, videos, texts, and chats and get to know one another, you can do that over at facebook.com/UntetheredLiveFamily. It's a great place to hang out. The link is in the chat. Go check it out, and I appreciate you. Back to the show. Amanda says, I ain't afraid of no ghost. Me either. Cosmo, what's up, cuz? Cosmo says, howdy, boys and girls. Sounds like we're ready to have a hoedown or a fun stampede of laughter. Y'all better hold on to your hats and get these giggles ready. Nice. I like it. I like it. I like how you think. Aaron, what's up, my brother? He says, peacock. I'd call peacocks. I'm with you, buddy. How you doing tonight? Amanda says, hey, Cosmo, you get the gold star for being first in chat. That's pretty impressive, buddy. You can put that on your mantelpiece next to your Golden Globes and tell your grandkids about how you fought the woke army to get that, wrestle away that gold star from them and put it up there on your mantelpiece, and now they can tell their grandkids. You live with it now. Amanda says, hi, Cosmo. And hi, Aaron. Cosmo says, Amanda, smiley faces all around. And Aaron says, nah, I beat Cosmo. LOL. Did you? Well, you didn't say anything first. He's got the first chat. Sorry. Kevin Cox, what's up, my brother? He says, hey, Jake and Amanda, I'm at the Hard Rock. And guess what? I'm waiting on April. As if. She was supposed to meet me at 4, but she fell asleep with Kahlua. Well, it's a little past 4. I'd be checking on her if I were you. Pardon me. Don't blow your nose on camera, Jake. It's not professional. I'm just a man. What can I say? I'm not an animal. Cosmo says, LOL. And Amanda says, your chat's going to jump and leave you. As it does. Aaron, you get some stars, too. They're not gold, but you can have them. And Amanda says, hi, Kevin. And Aaron says, I have a friend named Cosmo, and we worked at 9 West together. 9 West. What is that? Sounds like a movie theater. Amanda says, oh, can you dig it? Yes, I can. Kevin says, hey, Aaron and Cosmo. Aaron says, Mr. Kevin, hey. Kevin says, I hope you all are having a good Friday. We are having a great Friday. Thank you, Kev. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a good Friday, too. Cosmo was my nickname when I was younger because my head was always off in space, daydreaming, says Cosmo. I mean, I was just trying to reach for the stars, but it turns out I was just a little lost in the cosmos. Well, I've known you all my life. I never called you Cosmo till you came here. We called you Blockhead. I don't know if you knew that or not, but now you know. And knowing is half the battle. Aaron says, I can dig it if you can bury it. Right on. I like the way you think, too. Cosmo says, long week. Yes, it's been a long week. Bill Bennett says, hello, guys. Much love from Indiana. I was going to say, thank you. Come again. Hey, Bill. How you doing, buddy? Yes, it's been a long week. I did not work 2 days this week, so I'm a little on the edge. So if I seem a little stressy, that's why. But it'll be better tomorrow. The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar it's tomorrow. Something else that rhymes. Tomorrow. Parmesan pasta, says Amanda. Is that what that was? It didn't look like Parmesan or pasta. It was good, though, whatever it was. Amanda says, hi, Bill. John H. is here. He says, hello, everyone. Sorry about the other night. I fell asleep with the phone in my hand and woke up still in my hand. Rock on. I've done that before, but things don't stay in my hands when I fall asleep. They go straight to the floor. I don't know why. And my hands turn in for some reason. So if I'm holding a cigarette, I don't just drop my hand. It turns in and I drop it fire first on me. I've done that before. It's not fun. Amanda says, hi, John. And Aaron says, hello, John. And John renewed his membership. And he says, love you, family. Thank you, John, for 5 months of membership. God bless you, sir. Anybody else want to become a member, you can hit that join button down at the bottom. It really does help the channel grow. It's relatively inexpensive for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. I mean, you can do more, but you can do very little, too. And it's just a matter of what you can do, you know. It's up to you. And also, Amanda says, hit that Cash App, $ JakeJohnsonband, if you love what you see. Amanda says, congratulations, John, on 5 months of putting up with my ass. I appreciate you, buddy. You mean a lot to me. Amanda says, we love you too, John. It's me. What's up, buddy? He says, howdy. To be honest, Monday and Thursday and Good Friday days are emotionally sad, yet the grace we can have, I smile. What are we talking about? If you're talking about Good Friday and Easter and all that nonsense, I don't do that. I do Passover. Because that's what my Bible says to do. But I hear you. I got nothing against people that do it. I just don't partake of it myself. Kevin Cox says, I have been listening to a podcast on a murder case that occurred in 1987 called Bone Valley. It is a case in Polk County, Florida. Well, I was there. I remember that. It involved many people I prosecuted with. Yeah. Yeah, I was there in 1987 in Polk County. It would have been when I first got there. But I do remember hearing something about Bone Valley. Amanda says, hi, it's me. Colin Hill, the middle, says, hey, Jake, I got a heavy scrap load ready for tomorrow. You go, boy. I'm proud of you. Get that work in. Build them muscles up. You be beating the ladies off with a stick. It's me, says, hi, Amanda. And Aaron says, 9 West is a woman's shoe store. They own Jones of New York and Easy Spirit. And our Easy Spirit. Okay. Well, if you got to work at a shoe store, women's shoes is the way to go. Because when you're putting them things on, you got a straight shot. I mean, women need shoes too. Kevin says, you might enjoy listening to it, Jake. I'll give it a shot. I'll check it out. I'm not much on murder mysteries because, I don't like murder, but sometimes they're good. Amanda says, well, you are related to Jake, so that explains a lot. Who's related to me? Who are you referring to? Kevin or Cosmo? Kevin and I are not related. Unless he marries April, and then we will be. Amanda says, hi, Colin. And Kevin Cox says, hey, Amanda, HBJ. Cosmo says, hi, everyone. Aaron says, they should call Cosmo Cazillionaire. Ha. He's working on his second $1 million. He gave up on his first one, but he's working on the second one now. Patty Dunhoo, what's up, girl? She says, what's going on? Nice to see you. We just chilling and having a good time. How you doing? Amanda says, hi. And yes, happy Good Friday, y'all. I didn't even realize it was Good Friday. Thanks for reminding me it's me. Aaron says, hey, Patty. And Colin says, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, you got it, buddy. That's correct. Cosmo says, that's a good podcast, Kevin. Cosmo's watching it or listening to it. Patty says, Miss Amanda Rose. And Amanda says, Cosmo, it's me, says they called Maundy Thursday, remembering the Last Supper, the 2 commandments, also communion, our Passover. Maundy? How do you get that from Maundy? Maundy. That sounds like my girlfriend after a bad week. Anyway. Patty says, Aaron, hi. And you guys are lovely. I enjoy being with you. I'm having a good time on Friday night. Happy Friday, everyone, says Fab Daddy. What's up, Fab? I worked last night in your honor. On my day off. John says, I got myself a Bible now, King James. Congratulations, buddy. And you can read along with us when we do Bible study. That's awesome. Kevin says, Mary, April, I cannot even get her to meet me on time for dinner. However, that would make you and I cousins-in-law, but not kissing cousins-in-law. True. I don't kiss and tell. And I don't kiss cousins either. Except for that one time, but I was young and I needed the money. But other than that, I'm not sure he was my cousin. Aaron says, a round of applause. Fist bump for Jake. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I would curtsy, but I don't have any room. Amanda says, awesome, John. That's fantastic that you got you a Bible now. And like I told you, if you needed one, I would have sent it to you. And I meant that. And that goes for everybody here. If you need one, I'll send it to you. And Fab Daddy, I have been looking into StreamYards and Melon and a couple other softwares that will allow me to have guests. And it is doable, but I'm going to have to pay for it because the free option just isn't going to work for me. It ain't going to make it possible. So I got to make some money, and then I will look into getting that, and I'll be able to do it. But the idea of a chat show is on the horizon, so you can look forward to that at some point. We will do that. We'll have a panel and discussion. I don't say debate because I don't think you want to debate me. But we can have a good conversation, and you can have your point, and I'll have my point, and it'll be wonderful. If we were debating, I understand the rules of a debate, and I don't much like them. You know, the way a regular debate goes is you get an opening, I get an opening, you get 10 minutes, I get 10 minutes, you get a rebuttal, I get a rebuttal, you get a close, I get a close. And then we both walk away claiming to have won the debate. And the people that support you will say, yeah, you won the debate. The people that support me will say, yeah, you won the debate. That's not how I roll. So the way I function is in a debate, I open, very short and sweet. I just say what I believe to be true. I don't rattle on. I don't make a spreadsheet or anything like that. And then I sit back and listen. And I wait while you discuss what you believe. And inevitably, you will make a mistake. And when you make that mistake, I will pounce on it like a tiger and chew you from limb to limb. I will eviscerate you in front of God and everybody and leave you panting in a husk on the floor, begging for mercy. And you will know that I won that debate. And then I will concede. And that's the way I roll. And you don't want that. So I would much prefer to just have a friendly conversation with my peers. I think that's better. What do you think? Amanda says, hey, Fab Daddy. And Aaron says, a round of applause for Jake. I read that one. Amanda says, awesome, John. I read that one. What's going on here? Fab Daddy says, cool, Jake. How's the coffee tonight? It's fantastic. Thank you for asking. I am, however, a little hoarse, but we're working on it. Aaron says, what's that word mean, Jake? Which word? Eviscerate? It's the only one I can think of that I just recently used. You have to be more specific. I talk a lot. I don't know which word you're talking about. But if you can kind of sound it out, and I'll tell you. Fab Daddy says, sounds encouraging to join in conversation. Yes, it would be great. I would love to have a conversation. Amanda says, what word, Aaron? Right. Cosmo says, I've hauled more concrete this week than a cement truck on a sugar rush. I hear you, buddy. Yeah, I hate concrete. I hate it with a passion. Why? Well, because it gets on everything and you can't wash it out of your hands. Your hands go dry and there's nothing you can do about it. It's full of rocks, so inevitably there will be a rock in your shoe at some point. And when it's time to pour concrete, everybody gets a hard-on for some reason. And everybody is an asshole until it's poured. And I don't like that job. He skipped my word, eviscerate. Okay. Eviscerate means to turn to pink mist. Have you ever seen a sniper shooting a rifle and then they hit a target and it goes psst, and there's nothing left because it's a 50 caliber bullet? That's evisceration. Make sense? Okay. Pink mist. Fab Daddy says evisceration is total destruction. Yes. I'm sorry. I'll try not to use words like that. Amanda says, to eviscerate a person or animal means to remove their internal organs, such as their heart, lungs, and stomach. Formal synonyms is gut, draw, paunch, disembowel, and more synonyms of eviscerate. Total destruction. And what is strange in the neighborhood, says Dana. Hey, Dana, how are you, sweetheart? Struggling, suggested in the title of this video. Greetings. Okay, we'll get to it. Last week, 5 elderly women climbed aboard a penis-shaped rocket and was launched up into the air and reached the edge of space. It has a name, but I can't call it to mind right now. All I can think of is Mercator line, but that's not it. That's something else. But it's the very edge of space and came back down. The whole trip lasted 11 minutes. Now, they had 2 minutes and 43 seconds at the edge of space, and then they came back down. And then when they got to the bottom, They opened the door, and 2 people rushed up to the door and said, "Don't open the door yet." And then Jeff Bezos is walking around with a tool in his hand, like some special tool, and making sure everybody sees it that's got a camera. And then 10 minutes later, he goes over there and does something to the door, and it pops open. But it was already opened because we saw it open on camera. They didn't mean to film that. It was an accident. Not to mention the fact that the spacecraft is completely clean and not scorched at all, like it came through the atmosphere, which it did not. And so my guess is it's fake. You can call me a conspiracy theorist if you want. But I would like to point you to the video in which none of them are looking out the window. Now, let me ask you, if you went to space, what would be your main objective while there? It would be to look at the Earth, would it not? Or to look out into space and see what's up there, would it not? None of them seem even concerned about what's going on out the windows. They're taking selfies and playing with toys that they brought along with them, doing flips like you can do in the Vomit Comet, which is a plane that does parabolas and makes you feel weightless for about 2 minutes and 45 seconds, oddly enough. Anyway, forget all that. Their conversation while on the spaceship and afterwards, every line was like a line out of a book about space. Look at the blue line, the thin blue line. We are weightless, y'all, that sort of thing. Like as if to sell to me that that's what's going on. I can see with my own eyes what's going on. I don't need you to spell it out for me. But that's what they were doing. The whole thing stinks to high heaven. I don't know what's going on about it, but I can promise you those old women did not go to space. And also, there is absolutely nothing historic about it. Women have been going to space since the 60s. It's just a thing, right? And people have walked on the moon, according to science. I know. I'm sending mixed signals because sometimes I argue the opposite. But it's just an argument. It's a point of contention for me because there's a lot of fuckery afoot. Something's wrong in the neighborhood. Something stinks. Open to discussion. What do you think? Have you seen it? Do you agree that something's wrong? If so, what did you see that made you feel that way? If not, why do you think it's the real thing? Also, they giggled and cackled the whole way up and down, and that's not what astronauts do. Also, no training. Go back to 1969. Those men went through years of intense training to become astronauts because they didn't know how they could handle space. Fast forward, old people are going into space. William Shatner was 94 years old. He went into space and back down in the same penis-shaped rocket. Why is it penis-shaped? I don't know. Every other rocket is pointed. This one looks like it's got a penis head on the tip of it. Why? Compensate much? Anyway. Amanda says, hi, Dana Hun. Dana says, hi, Amanda Hart. Aaron says, I've done it. I didn't know it was called that. We call it center mass in the service. But there you go. Now you understand. That's what evisceration means. And that's okay. Not everybody is a walking dictionary with a lot of words in it. Cosmo says, I haven't had any of these problems that you just mentioned. All of our finishers are cool. Well, I've had these problems, and there's a difference between driving the truck there and being the guy in the hole that's putting the concrete where it goes. I promise you, those guys are getting their asses rode. I promise. Get out of the truck and go hang out with those guys, and you'll hear their boss yelling at them. People get a hard on when concrete shows up. Why? I don't know. Maybe they just eager to get it done. Aaron says, I like big words. I learn. That's a great philosophy in life, is to always try to learn something new. Cosmo says they don't speak English, but they are nice as they can be. Well, didn't you tell me you were learning Spanish? Keep learning. I'll give you something to look for. Besa macula. Por mezcla. Look for those words. Promise they're saying them. Amanda says, Jake does too, Aaron. Yes, I actually am a big nerd. I watch videos on how to learn things. That's how bad I am. Like I go in tangents and I just go down rabbit holes for fun. That's what I do. My idea of a restful evening is a technical manual. I know. Dana says, hi, Fab Daddy. Thumbs up. And Amanda says, and he has lots of them. Words? Oh, yeah. Lots and lots of them. Demarcation line. That might be it. I'm thinking it starts with a C. You know, the edge of space, whatever that's called. Right, we're 62 miles up. That's the line. At 62 miles, 62.7 miles, something like that. And then it's from atmosphere to space, lower Earth orbit. And I can't remember what the word is. It might be demarcation, but I'm thinking demarcation line is something to do with the night to day transition, or whatever word I said earlier. Hey, we got ourselves a genuine bona fide USDA approved sports update from Kevin Cox. He says we are less than 1 week away from the NFL draft. If you have nothing to do for 3 days, watch it. Back to you, Bob. I agree. We are pretty close to the NFL draft. I don't know what that means or if that's significant to anybody, but I'm pretty sure it's important to somebody, so go check that out. Fab Daddy says, hi, Dana. That's it, the Cayman line. Thank you. The Cayman line. That's the edge of space and our atmosphere. I knew it started with a K or a C, or in my head it started with a C, but it's a K, and that's the right word. Dana says, that was a pathetic display. Nothing but a satanic ritual. Yeah, I saw some things that made me think that too, Dana. I just figured I wouldn't touch on that immediately. I was just want to focus on the fakeness of it all. And then those guys are going on TV telling people how disappointed they are that people don't believe that they actually did anything. Well, I'm sorry. If you didn't look like a bunch of idiots in a penis-shaped rocket, people might believe you. It turns out looks matter. And also, there's more plastic on that ship going up. If anything, some scientific stuff could have been done on this trip to see, the effects of plastic on the body, but nothing. They did nothing. They just rode up. She says, Oprah Winfrey's friend, what's her name? Gayle King. She says, when a man goes up, they don't call it a ride. They call it historic or a flight. I'm like, yeah, the man walked on the moon. She just called out the astronaut Alan Shepard. Alan Shepard walked on the moon. So, yeah, there's that. He didn't just ride a rocket and then back. He went there and did stuff. And he trained to be an astronaut, which in those days was grueling and took a very long time, and only the top 1% of 1% could even get through the training. So, talk about the right stuff. And it turns out the right stuff is plastic. Cosmo says he definitely did that, Lamau. And Aaron says, exosphere. Nope, that's not the way. I was looking for Cayman line. But that is in the exosphere, correct. John H. says Katy Perry kissed the floor. She kissed the dirt. Yeah, when she got out of the rocket, after she probably was the one that opened the door to get out. I can only imagine she's the one that couldn't wait to get out and let Jeff Bezos play the game and make it look like he was opening the door from the outside. Turns out pressurized doors open from the outside and require a crew to do so, because otherwise you could open the door in space and that wouldn't be good for anybody. And it looked pretty flimsy too when it popped open. It looked like a wooden door. Go look for yourself. You just go look at that thing. That thing looks like a penis-shaped meth head tent. It does not look like it could go to space. I could be wrong. I might be wrong. But on this subject, this is definitely my opinion. But I'm sharing my opinion because there's something to it. Go look at it. The videos are all over YouTube. Just go look at it, and you tell me what you see. What I saw is 5 old women pretending to go to space. And now I'm calling into question William Shatner's trip into space. I believe that whole cloth when they did it. I didn't see anything unusual about that one. So now I'm questioning it. Dana says it's laughable. I agree. And Amanda says it was a hoax. I think it was too. But why? That's what I want to know. Why is it? Why are they doing that? What could they possibly gain by pretending that 5 old women went into space? I don't understand. Can they go? Sure. There's nothing stopping you from going at any age. But why? Why does that matter? Anybody got any ideas? Fab Daddy says, they looked. No, they didn't. I watched the video. I'm telling you, they didn't care about what was going on outside. They may have glanced out there and said some lines, but they were not pressed to the glass window taking pictures of the earth, which is what you would do. They had their phones, so they were busy taking selfies. It's Me says, I'm praying for John H. and God bless. God heals, and the doctors stand amazed. Amen, It's Me, and thank you for that. And yes, John, we all pray for you, buddy. We love you. Fab Daddy says, they commented on the pink moon. Yeah, there's our pink moon. It's not pink, and it's that big. So, something's wrong. If you believe that, I would like for you to donate to my timeshare corporation. And I've got some oceanfront property right under the Golden Gate Bridge in Arizona that I'd like to sell you timeshares to. I'm serious. You can see the pink moon from there. Amanda says, right, John? Like she was gone forever, right? And John says, thank you, It's Me. Prayers and hearts back at you. And Aaron says, I kissed the ground and I liked it. And I faked it. Katy Perry's new song. I kissed the ground and I faked it. Yeah. I like that. Dana says, it was a cheap studio shot. They don't even try hard enough to deceive the baboons in half comatose state. Yeah, I can put space up behind me right here. And it'll look just as good as what you saw in that thing. I promise. And if I put a window between me and the space, it would really look real. Especially a big... Here's a trivia question for you. Do you know why the lunar lander had such tiny windows? Turns out pressure and space don't get along too good because of vacuum in a container. And everywhere there's glass is a weak point in the construction of a spacecraft. And when you have a vacuum and you put something pressurized in it, it wants to equalize because that's the nature of vacuums. It abhors pressure. It wants to equalize it until every square inch of the vacuum has the same amount per square inch of pressure in it. That's what a vacuum is. Now, that's why the windows are so tiny, to minimize breakableness. These windows look like they're, house windows. There's 4 of them or 5 of them all the way around. This thing is barely able to contain its structural shape because of windows. Something's wrong. Unless it's transparent aluminum. Have we got that far yet? I don't think so. Star Trek fans, you let me know. And Amanda says, it's a publicity stunt. Yeah, but why? None of those people are important. Katy Perry? 10 years too late much? Gayle King? Oprah's her friend. Oprah's more important. Who are the other 3? You don't know, and neither do I. Cosmo says, Jake, to me, if you watch the launch as it's going up, and I'm assuming it supposedly was a drone filming, but it looked like it was AI generated. I saw that too. I did. I didn't mention that because that's obvious, but I was more talking about what happened inside the craft, but you're right. It did look funny. And so, by the way, does the SpaceX things that they're doing look a little funny. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe it's just the way they look. I don't know. But I've seen rockets take off in real life, and they look a fair bit different than what I'm seeing on TV now. Don't forget, I'm old, and I'm from Florida. I used to watch rockets go off every day, and some of them I was at Cape Kennedy when they were doing it. It was Cape Canaveral back then it was Cape Kennedy. Whatever. I was there. I saw them go up close. I know what that looks like. And Fab Daddy says penis shape for bigger windows or for penetration, greater penetration. Into space, you pervert. So basically, Jeff Bezos is raping this guy is all I'm saying. There's something about a shape of a penis with 5 old ladies inside. There's a joke there. I just don't know what it is yet. Aaron says, it looks like a woke stunt. It might be. It might be something to say later on, look what we did. We could, diversity or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just know that something's weird about it. Something strange is in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Who are you going to call? I would like to wait another week and see what comes out because you can't keep secrets very long in this world, in the world of the cell phone. Everybody has a camera. Somebody saw something, I promise. In fact, that's how we got the information we got right now because they were filming and they shouldn't have been filming that early. And somebody from inside the capsule opened the door and then they rushed to stop them. And then 10 minutes later, Jeff Bezos came over there with his special tool and did this. He didn't even make a full rotation, by the way. So it wasn't a wrench or a screw. And the door pops open. It's like a latch. That's it. Really? Really? Also, if you turn the volume all the way up on your TV and watch that video, he actually says they didn't even close it back all the way to his friend. So they definitely opened the door from the inside, and that's not how pressurized doors work. Just so you know. If that spacecraft is real, and they did go into space, write this down. I'm going to tell you now. Write it down that very soon somebody is going to die on a Jeff Bezos rocket. Because that thing is not stable, it's not sturdy, it's not safe. Also, I don't know what company built it. I don't know where they tested it because there's no evidence of that ever occurred. Remember all the testing at Los Alamos and at Jet Propulsion Labs where they fire the rockets off and it scares everybody in town and all that stuff? That's testing a rocket. When did they do that with the Jeff Bezos rocket? As far as I know, Blue Origin's just appeared, fully formed, fully functional, and ready to go. Even Elon Musk has blown up a bunch of rockets trying to figure out the best way to make a rocket. You hear anything about Jeff Bezos' rockets blowing up? No, you don't. So why? Because they're not testing rockets, that's why. Amanda says, windows that would break with the pressure and heat of reentry. Yes. Heat also plays a big factor. Also, go look at some pictures of other spacecraft that have come through reentry. They all are scorched. Go look at them. They're all burnt up. That one, white as snow. Not a scratch on it anywhere. No dust on it anywhere. Despite the video of it landing with the big dust plume that came up, no dust landed on the machine. And Dana says, Fab Daddy, penis shape. Satanic ritual in its best. Take a close look at their badges on their uniforms. Go look at that. Tell me what you see. Because I see something a little strange. Also, take a look at the jewelry they're wearing. Take a look at the poses that they make while floating. Something's going on. I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole because I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but there absolutely is some of that happening. For that matter, you can look at just about anything that NASA has ever put out in the way of a graphic, and you'll see satanic imagery in that as well. Why? I don't know. Look at the names that they name things. They're all Greek gods and stuff in Latin and things like that. Maybe because it sounds scientific-y, maybe because it means something else. There is a goddess Athena in the Capitol building of the Washington, D.C., so there's that. And there are other deities, statues in Washington, and the whole layout of the road that the White House is on, the roads that lead to it, it's like in the middle of a park. There is no actual road that leads to the White House. Pennsylvania Avenue does not go in front of the White House. Anyway, if you look at an overhead map of that city, you'll see a giant pentagram, and the White House is in the middle. That was not an accident. But for the conspiracy theorists among you, well, it's not a complete pentagram because one line isn't complete there. One road didn't get finished. If you go look at the plans of the city, you'll find out that they intended that road to be there and ran out of money and they just never finished it. But it was on the original plans. So not a conspiracy theory. Aaron says, thesaurus, Jake. Got it. Yeah, I tripped over my own word. I did that on purpose because as I was saying it, I realized how pretentious it sounded. So I figured the only way out was to make a mistake. John H. says, and I'm guilty of that, Aaron. I do sound pretentious occasionally. I don't intend to be, but it just works that way. John says, the Supreme Court in Britain now ruled a woman is a woman now and a man is a man. Do they know what that is? Because it doesn't mean anything to say it if you can't define it. But awesome. We've done something similar here, and a couple of states are fighting it tooth and nail, but for pretty much everybody's going along with it because they all know. Fab Daddy says, I just finished watching a movie, The Brutalist. The Brutalist. Is that a Western, or am I thinking of something else? Isn't that like the sequel to The Shootist? I might be wrong about that. And Aaron says, oh, the Cayman line, Jake. Yes, the Carmen line. Carmen or Cayman, one or the other. Yes, that's the word I was trying to remember. Cosmo says, spoiler alert, we are less than 24 hours away from WrestleMania. Get your snacks ready and prepare for superplexes, flying elbows, and enough drama to rival a soap opera. Are they still doing WrestleMania? I thought that was like a thing of the past. Do we still have wrestlers? Do they still wear the oiled up bodies in the little tight shorts? Very homoerotic. He says as he puts a glass penis-shaped object in his mouth. Walter Davis says, good evening, all. Hey, Walter. Nice to see you, buddy. Come on in. Take your shoes off. Amanda says, hi, Walter. Aaron says, hello, Sir Walter. Kevin Cox says, hey, Walter. It's me, says Jethro Bodine wanted to be an astronaut. Many, many, many people did. Yes, they never could be, though, because it took a lot to be an astronaut in those days. You had to be top 1% of the top 1% in order to make it through the grueling process of training to be an astronaut. Most people washed out before they ever got there, and even if you made it through the training, only a select few were chosen. Many astronauts never went anywhere. Many of them. Why? Well, you can only fit 4 people in the thing, right? Or 3 people originally, and then 4 people, and then 7 people. Maybe NASA needs another 7 astronauts. Too soon. But my point is many of the astronauts who became astronauts never went into space. They're just academically astronauts. it was considered very lucky for you to get called to go into space. And if you had a fever, God forbid, you weren't going. Or, an itch somewhere. I mean, they were serious about it. If you had a questionable response to a psychological question, you were not going. Period. If you looked at a Rorschach test and saw anything other than a blot of ink, you didn't go. Amanda says the entire thing looks like a blow-up tent. Yeah, that thought has been uttered also. It looks fake. It really does. Aaron says, LOL, bouncy house. Yes, it's a old lady bouncy house. That's what that is. And something's wrong. That's my opinion. What do you think? That is an opinion. That is not fact. I have no idea if they actually went or not. I think there's some fuckery afoot. What do you think? I always defer to the chat's wisdom when I express an opinion because I'm only human and I am fallible. Amanda says, right, Aaron. And Walter says, hey, Jake, Amanda, Cosmo, Ron, John, Fab, it's me, Dana, Kevin, Patty, Colin. Hey, Walter. Aaron says, hold on, chat jumped. This is a good conversation so far. Where'd it go? I'll find it in a minute. Here we go. Aaron says they were in a McDonald's parking lot. Really? Is that true? I thought they were in the desert. I didn't look into where they were. Fab Daddy says Miss Davis, or Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis. How you doing, Mr. Davis? Walter Davis. Walter Davis. Fab Daddy says, I have a Golden Gate Bridge in my town. Really? Are you in San Francisco? Kevin Cox says, William Shatner went in a penis rocket, better known as P1. Rosie O'Donnell, if she went into space, the rocket would have been shaped like a vagina and called the V1. I think the V2 would be offended by that, which is what all rockets are based on. The V2 rocket, built by Werner von Braun of, Mean Mr. Mustache fame. Anyway, he ended up here for some reason. Don't know. We don't know. No German scientists, they just appear. We did go get them. I don't know where they came from. Project Paperclip is a no, we don't talk about that. Okay. So, now we have a space program. Thank you, Mean Mr. Mustache, who did nothing wrong. Don't do that. Anyway, V2 rockets would be offended by that statement, Kevin. But Rosie O'Donnell in space, I can get behind that. One way. William Shatner went in the same penis-shaped rocket that the 5 old ladies went in last Wednesday. Or Monday, whatever day it was. And I didn't question it at all when he did it. It seemed real. He came back crying. He said he saw the blackness of space and he felt like he was looking death in the face, which is a reaction you would expect. Not, oh, let's do the duck lips and take a selfie. That doesn't seem right. Kevin says my space rocket would be shaped like a big titty and called the T1 1000, and I would go braless. Fab Daddy says, it's not in San Francisco. Where's the Golden Gate Bridge at? Aaron says, I have a plane on that bridge that talks. Right on. And Dana says, hi, Walter Davis. Thumbs up. Aaron says, VR chamber does wonders. Yeah, and they have this thing now called the VR wall. Have you guys seen that technology? All the TV shows are using it now. And it's basically a big warehouse with a round wall, kind of goes around you this way. And they can project onto that wall any background that they want, and it moves in real time with the actors and the camera so that it looks like they're actually there. It's very disorienting if you're standing there, but once you get used to the walls moving, you can kind of roll with it. You got to know where to look. It's one of those kind of things, like seasickness. Once you get your sea legs, it's okay. But they're doing some fascinating things with that VR wall now. And just watch Star Trek Discovery or Mandalorian. They use it all throughout those shows, and it looks like they're in the place. So there's something to the idea. I'll be a Joe Biden. The idea. It's an idea. Folks, I'm not kidding. It's the real thing here. Anyway, the idea that they don't have the technology to fake it is the weakest argument I have ever heard. I would defer you to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Go watch that movie. Yes, it's fiction. And yes, there are some mistakes. But as far as believable space goes, you can totally buy into that being a real place. It looks the part. It goes very close to scientifically how things would function in space. It looks great. That film was made in 1969 by the same lens that they took to the moon in 1969, because he gave NASA, or rather NASA gave him that lens that he used in that movie. It's like a $6 million or $9 million lens that they developed in NASA, and he used that lens to film Space Odyssey. And he met with them shortly before all of the moon stuff happened, and there's pictures of that on the internet. You can see them all walking together in an alley at NASA or at Jet Propulsion Laboratories, one of those places, I don't know. Anyway, why would he be meeting with them at all? That makes no sense to me. We're talking about, what's his name? Does anybody know his name? I know his name. Where's it at? Eyes Wide Shut, Clockwork Orange, 2001: A Space Odyssey. I can't think of his name. Anyway, that guy. It's coming to me. Hold on. Hurry up. We need an in-ear system. What are you talking about? Eyes Wide Shut, who? The director. My brain is turning. Hold on. Stanley Kubrick. Thank you. Stanley Kubrick is meeting with NASA at NASA. Why? Maybe they wanted to get pointers on how to film the moon landing. I don't know. It's weird that that's a thing. It's also weird that Wernher von Braun, the guy I told you about a minute ago, was in Antarctica picking up asteroids early on. And then they found an asteroid from Mars that had something that looked very similar to an organism fossilized in it, which turned out to be nothing, but it got a lot of funding. So it's kind of weird. Anyway. MC Carrar, welcome to the show. Okay, Walter Davis told me to come here. What's going on? Well, hello, MC Carrar. Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? And what do you want to talk about? Because we talk about everything here. And I'm glad you came. Tonight, we're talking about the 5 old ladies that went up in the penis-shaped rocket earlier this week for 11 minutes and the significance of what that means and if it was in fact real or fake. You tell me. Patty says, I just can't care about any of the news any longer. I agree. It seems like all theater, and when I do hear about it, I knew it was a lie. Right on. I agree 100%, which is why I stopped watching the news a few years ago. I used to watch religiously Fox, MSNBC, and CNN. Religiously. I listened to NPR and I listened to PBS. Religiously. And I got tired of being angry at the television. I would get so heated, I'd yell at the TV because they were lying to my face, and I'm smart enough to recognize a lie when I hear one. And I finally got to the point, and it was during the first Trump election, during that cycle. I watched every one of his debates. I watched every one of theirs, all the way through the caucuses, all the way through the whole shebang. I watched everything I could find on the subject. And at the end of that, I said, no more. And I haven't watched the news since then. I don't watch it. I don't want to see it. All they're going to do is lie to me or gaslight me. There's no point in me wasting my time watching what they have to say. It's an opinion anyway. It is no longer the news. Since Bill Clinton had all of the media conglomerates broke down into 6 companies, which are now 3 companies, it stopped being the news and started being opinion pieces. That's when everything went cable. Remember that, when news was privatized. That's when it stopped being news. Now it's an opinion piece. Now you have personalities like Tucker Carlson, for better or worse. He's a personality. Or the people on CNN, which I would have 3-year-old references, so there's no point in saying. So Morning Joe is a personality, and it's a leaned personality. They lean left or right, and I don't need that. I would much prefer to see reality as it is, not as somebody spins it and me believing it. So I stop it altogether. I don't watch the news. I get my information from the source. If I hear about a story, I go look it up. I go see what the deal is myself. And I also listen to alternative media, meaning I listen to Tim Pool, Joe Rogan, Rubin Report, that British guy, Russell Brand, Joe Rogan, those kind of guys. And I listen to a lot of variety. I even listen to some gay people because I want to know what they think. But I don't listen to the flaming ones because, to me, that's nonsense. There's plenty of gay people out there that you wouldn't know was gay unless they told you. They don't make a habit of telling you. So I'm fine with that. Like Dave Rubin. Pretty much anybody on TV anymore. Amanda says, hi, MC MC how you say your name? MC Carrar. That's it. McCrar. Is that Scottish? Are you Scottish? And Fab Daddy says, talking about Blue Origin's rocket launch with those mothers. They were not, none of those people were mothers. Those are all childless, old, over 40 women. Those aren't mothers. I hate to tell you that. And McCrar says, it's a phallic symbol. Yes, it is. Very much so. And I think it's because Jeff Bezos is overcompensating. Have you seen his wife? He's married to the McBurglar. Not kidding. Or Grimace, one of those with a plastic face. Patty says, I didn't even know about the one y'all are talking about. Oh, yeah, it happened. 5 women, Gayle King, that's Oprah's friend, Katy Perry, and 3 other chicks that nobody knows who they are. You don't either, so that doesn't matter. Went up into space for 11 minutes and back down. They rode up and back down. And they're calling it historic. They're calling it heroism. They're heroes. I'm pretty sure I could do that while sleeping. Just saying. Kevin Cox says, hey, Fab Daddy. Fab Daddy says, hey. And Dana says, they are mocking God above with pathetic shape of the pee-pee. And this was purely a satanic ritual. I agree. I can't deny that there is some elements of that there. I agree with you, Dana. John says, call the Space Invaders 5 women. Cosmo says, why did the 5 women pilot a penis-shaped spaceship. They didn't. They did not pilot the ship. They rode in the ship. There was no piloting. There was no scientific endeavor whatsoever. They did nothing. They sat in a seat for 11 minutes and took a ride on a roller coaster. That's it. That's what they did. Which women have been doing since the 60s. This is not new. It's not historic. They broke no records. They learned nothing. They provided nothing. They were tourists. Why did they pilot a penis-shaped ship? They heard the galaxy needed a little more thrust in its love life. Fun. I like that. Walter says, we were just talking about the Bezos space thing that looks like a big dick, right? Amanda says, hello, Cosmo. And McCraw says, phallic symbols are associated with gods of fertility like Priapus and Pan, and the whole thing was a fertility ritual, and there is definitely a physical birthing as well as living through the Great Reset. Well, there you go. There are elements of this event that lean in that direction. I can't say that's what they were intending to do because that would be totally me guessing, but I see things like that involved in this. And it absolutely feels like, and proximity to Easter, by the way, is another thing that makes me concerned because that whole system, the whole thing about Easter is fertility system. It's fertility rites. That's what it is. That's quick like a bunny. That's the streamers on the pole, which symbolize semen. That's, the egg, which is a fertilization thing. Hunt the eggs, little children hunting the eggs, trying to get pregnant. That's the whole thing, right? So I don't know where the chocolate bunny comes into all that, but or the chicken or the bunny that clucks like a chicken. I don't know where that came from, but other than that, Fab Daddy says, yes, there is. Jake just does follow rocket launches. Yeah, I do follow rocket launches. I've been following rockets on YouTube for the past 10 years. Well, you got to believe everything you see on YouTube, Fab Daddy. They couldn't possibly fake it with a camera. Again, I was there in the early 80s when they were shooting them off for real, and I watched them up close. I toured the Space Center there. I saw the Saturn V. I stood in one of its bells and looked up at its wonder. It's the biggest thing I've ever seen. And I'm telling you, it looks different. Now, I can admit that technology could have gotten way better since then. I don't deny that. I don't deny that they're sending rockets up into space. But I'm telling you, this one, there's something weird about it. And also, the one when Tesla sent his car up into space, there was some weirdness to that too. Either it is or it ain't. That's what we're going with. Either space is what space is, what they have been telling us it has been for since they've been going to it, or it's not. Now, if it is, then you know that when you're in space, there is no protection from the rays of the sun, which is why they have specialized tools so they don't get red hot and burn through the spacesuit, right? When they're doing spacewalks. Because if you're in the light of the sun, it gets very hot very quickly, which is why spacesuits have cooling units, right? Okay, if that's true, if a wrench can get red hot just by being in sunlight, what do you think paint on a car would do? Or leather seats that are exposed, or rubber tires that have oxygen in them in space? At the very least, they would go flat, right? They didn't. The paint didn't chip. The pleather on the dashboard didn't peel. The leather on the seats didn't turn white. Nothing. That's wrong. Either it is or it ain't. You can't have it both ways. Go back and watch it. Also, they had a camera inside the cockpit when it blew open and revealed the car in space. And there was a clear cut line in a live feed. You saw it. The screen went white. Go watch it. Screen went completely white for a split second, and then there was space. And the little thing's falling away. That's called a cut in the business, and anybody that works with film can recognize those things. That's where they've edited something. So go look for yourself and see what you think. But I'm glad you've been watching YouTube for 10 years. And I do follow space very closely, Fab Daddy, because I want to believe in space. I want to believe that we'll be out there one day. I love that idea. I'm a Star Trek fan. I love the idea. My brain realistically will not allow me to accept that, though, because there's just too much against the idea. It's never going to happen. McCraw says, reset. In order for their great reset to go correctly, they needed a fertility ritual. Okay. I don't know anything about witchcraft other than what I studied early in my life when I studied the occult. But that was a long time ago, and I try not to remember most of that. Walter Davis says, I think Bezos was inspired by Spaceballs, the movie. All I could think of was that scene in Austin Powers. Sir, you better come take a look at this. What is it? It looks like a big Johnson. Johnson, catch that ball over there. My God, is that a big wang? Yeah. You remember that scene? That's what I think about when I think about that spaceship going up. All it needs is 2 little pods on the back of it, and it'll be complete. McCraw says, so how many people in the chat think it was real? I'm guessing 1. Fab Daddy says, I think it was real. There you go. Amanda says, I don't, McCraw. And Aaron says, the orbit of that one isn't correct at all. The math don't math. We watched it as engineers, and all of us said nope. Are you talking about the car? Because if you're talking about this one that they did not orbit. They went up and came back down. They did not orbit the Earth. They didn't get into an orbital position at all. They never even went up as far as the space station, which is in low orbit. So they just went to that line and came back down. 62 miles is all they went. So that's technically not in space. You can see space, but you're not technically in it at that point. But if you're talking about the car one, yeah, there's a lot of weirdness about that one. The math don't math for sure. McCraw says, I'm going to retract the message just to screw with the new guy. Dana says, Fab Daddy, yeah, real fakery. Fab Daddy says, LOL. And Amanda says, yeah, Fab, really faked. And Amanda says, yeah, right, Dana? LOL. Kevin says, there are 13 people on and only 9 likes on the like button. Hit that like button, everybody. Well, now there's 10 and 11 people in chat. And there's been 31 total so far, which ain't bad for a Friday night. But do hit the like button. And if you love me, throw me a super chat or a cash app, $JakeJohnsonband. I appreciate that. But most of all, hit that like button. Walter Davis says, they were not out long enough to get into orbit. The return, they were weightless, and it seemed to be floating. Yeah, well, you can do that on the Vomit Comet, which is an aircraft that rents out time to people. You can go get it on it yourself. You rent it out. I don't know how much it costs, but I'm sure it's expensive. But they fly in high altitude parabolas, and they fly like that. And every time they go down, when they get ready to come back up, you become weightless for about, I think it's 3 minutes that you're weightless. So you can jump around and float. And they filmed movies in that thing where they put a set in the cockpit. You can tell because it's all cramped up because it's in a cockpit of a plane, or in the fuselage rather, the area where the seats usually go. It's a big open space, and you've got that much room to work with. So watch the Apollo 13, which was the movie that Tom Hanks was in. They used the Vomit Comet for some of those scenes. Anyway, they could have done that there. So being weightless in and of itself is not a proof to me that they went into space, because I can do that here on Earth. I can't do it, but I know how it's done. And also, you'd be surprised to know this maybe, but I talked to someone this week who did not know that there is no place on Earth where you can be weightless. They didn't know that. They assumed NASA had a chamber where they could train astronauts in weightlessness. And they do. It's called a pool, swimming pool. There is no weightless chamber on planet Earth. That doesn't exist. That's not a thing. There's no true vacuum chamber on planet Earth. There's some that get close, but none that can emulate space. The best analog that we have and still use to this day is a swimming pool way down deep. Dana says, smiley, smiley with some sweat. It's me says, very stupid movie. Walter D. LOL. And Amanda says, LOL, it's me. That's a hilarious movie. Are you talking about Spaceballs or what? Did I miss one? John H. says, even the aliens got scared Katy Perry was in space. Ha, yeah. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Why Katy Perry? That makes no sense to me at all. How does she even know Jeff Bezos? Why would she even know Jeff Bezos? They're millionaires and they hang out in the same center? Who knows? Kevin says, by the way, April has yet to arrive. Well, we love you, Kevin, and we're here with you in spirit, so have dinner with us. Walter Davis says, it's me. It was, but I think Bezos liked it and was inspired. Oh, you're talking about Spaceballs. No, Spaceballs is not a stupid movie. That is a very smart movie disguised as a stupid movie. All of the jokes in that movie are very highbrow jokes, but they're played for dumbness. That's Mel Brooks's genius, the guy that made that movie, and he made quite a few other movies that are along the same lines. One of my favorite movies. I know that movie inside and out. I tell you, if I've seen that movie 100 times, I might be lying to you. I've probably seen it more. Fab Daddy says 3 G's of force upwards and 6 G's on the return. That would be the vomit comet. You only need 2 G's to be weightless. Because if you're sitting here on planet Earth, just standing here, you're experiencing 1 G. Make sense? G stands for gravitron, which is a completely made-up thing. They have no evidence that a gravitron has ever existed. They just don't want to call it a reaction to movement, which is what gravity is. It's the same reason we have centrifugal force. It's the same reason why when you throw a ball, it falls towards the ground. It's the same reason why everything in the universe is where it is. It's gravity. Gravity is a reaction to movement. It is a reaction, not a force. Nothing creates gravity. It just is. It's not bending space like you're on a sheet. That's a good way to visualize it, but that's not literally what's happening. Amanda says, did you see the gauge fab? That's easy to fake. What gauge? What are we talking about? The Brutalist, starring ℂ𝕚𝕝𝕝 is about an architect. Okay. All right. Now I understand what you're talking about. You're talking about probably German-era architecture, which is very Spartan, very brutal in nature. It's not pretty at all. It's designed to be oppressive. So I'm assuming that's what the movie's about. Something like that. WrestleMania was big thing in jail, says Walter Davis. It was a big thing in the 80s, period. But I thought it was a thing that happened in the 80s. I didn't think they were still doing it. That's crazy. Who are the new wrestlers? Dakota Wright says, hey, friends. Hey, Dakota, what's up? Long time no see. Dana says, Walter Davis, I have seen flooding actresses in spaceships, Sigourney Weaver in Hollywood movies, and I forgot the name of it. Alien is the name of that movie with Sigourney Weaver. Or Galaxy Quest. She's in a spaceship in both of those movies. Sigourney Weaver. I like Sigourney Weaver, too. She's a great actress. Also, coincidentally, in Ghostbusters, which is where the title comes from. Walter says, "Hey, Dakota." And Amanda says, "Hi, Dakota." And Aaron says, "What's up, Dak?" Dak? Dakota. "What's up, Dak?" "What's up, Doc?" Walter Davis says, "Dana, Alien." It's a great movie. Yes, it is. And that movie holds up to this day. It's a very good movie. Dakota says, "Hey, Amanda." And Aaron says, "I got to do laundry. I don't know why I hate it so much." I know why you hate it so much, because it's laundry. Sucks. Floating, LOL, not flooding, floating. I am a dumb speller today. Floating, Sigourney Weaver. Right. Yes, they do amazing things on wires in movies. They didn't even have the vomit comet then to do that with. So they did that all on wires. But you can achieve that effect. They made Superman fly in the early or late 70s. I think it was 79 or 81, one of those 2 years when Superman came out. The tagline was, "You'll believe a man can fly," and you did. It looked real. I mean, that shit was great back then. It don't hold up now, but back then it was impressive that they made that look so real and effortless. And they did all of that with rear projection and wires. I am a fan of and study how special effects are done in movies, because it's always fascinated me. To make something look real using cunning and magic, for lack of a better word, that's always fascinated me. And because of my knowledge of how movies are made, I pick up on a lot of things that are supposed to look real and don't, because I know how it's done. And when I see those telltale tricks being pulled, I question the narrative. There is some footage from NASA that is supposedly the astronauts on the space station. They're standing in front of a stationary camera and they're floating. They got their feet in a stirrup so that they'll stay still. And you can clearly see on their waists, their shirts hiked up on both sides a little bit, where wires are connected to their hips. And that's how they fly people on wires. They are wearing a harness under their clothing, and you can see where the harness connects to the wire. And I want to know why they're doing that. Because they're supposed to be in space. And if you're telling me it's too hard to get pictures in space, or you don't want to show that on TV for some reason, so here's some actors, but we're not going to tell you they're actors, we're going to tell you they're the astronauts in space, that bothers me. Why would you do that? Now, I've seen that with my own eyes. You can believe it. You can think I'm lying. You can call it a conspiracy theory. I don't care. I know what I'm looking at, because I know how that trick is done. My question isn't, why are they faking it? My question is why are they showing it? Why do they feel the need to lie to us? My guess is it's probably because NASA's a military organization, and whatever's going on the space station probably shouldn't be shown to the world. That's my guess. I don't know. But it's definitely happening. Also, some of the early footage of things happening in space were clearly models. One in particular, you can even see a man's reflection in the plexiglass that they're using to shoot off of, because that's one of the ways you make space look real, is through plexiglass and a velvet background. And a light behind that, and little pinholes in the velvet. It looks like stars. Anyway, you can see a man's face in the reflection, and it's supposedly happening in real time and being aired on TV about something launching out of the bay of a shuttle, some kind of satellite or something. I can't remember what it was, but that kind of thing happens a lot, and I wonder why. That's all. I don't doubt that they're doing it. I mean, they got all this stuff. They should be doing it. But why? Why show somebody something that isn't real? Just to make people question it? Maybe that's the reason. Maybe if a certain amount of us people question it, they can keep a healthy will they, won't they thing going with America. And maybe that's enough to let them have their way with whatever they're doing. And as long as some people question it, and they're credible people that are questioning it, we can keep it kind of a conspiracy, kind of real, but nobody really knows what's going on, and that's probably strategically a good idea. I don't know. Sounds logical to me, though. I know that's what they did concerning space aliens, because every time they start talking about aliens on the news, something over here is going on with the government. And every time that's been the case. And back in the 80s, the CIA was disseminating false information about alien abductions to people in towns so that they would go and record it. One guy, they strung along, and he was listening to aliens on ham radio, and it was the CIA producing the thing he was listening to. Why did they do that? Misinformation. That's a campaign thing. They do that sort of thing. That's the very nature of the CIA. That's what they do. They create misinformation. So why? Normal people don't have a reason to question their reality. They just go about life, and whatever they see, they just accept. However, there's some weirdness in the world. Look for yourself. Cosmo says, well, y'all, I've been up since 2 a.m. I think that I've reached my limit. Well, thank you for showing up, Cosmo. We love you, buddy. Come back and see us again. Fab Daddy says, cause it never ends. True. Amanda says, laundry is fun. That's why you don't like laundry, because it never ends. Amanda says, laundry is fun. I did all hours today. And Dana says, floating. I got it. You got it. I believe in you. And then my chat jumped. Hang on, I got to get back up there. Whew. Can I have that fan in here, please? I'm burning up. It's me, says Astro Nut. Beverly Hillbillies. That's Jethro Bodine. Ha ha ha. Right on. Aaron says, Amanda, I need to learn to be better with it, with laundry. Yeah, you got to get that laundry done, man. Don't put it off. It just gets worse. And John says, hey, Dakota, and hey, Walter. And Fab Daddy says, vaping, you trying to quit smoking? No, I'm out of cigarettes. And I haven't received any money this week, so, you know. Thank you for noticing. That thing's strong, too. Gets me every time. Good. Aaron says he ran out, I think. You're correct. I think I have 3 left. Yep. I'm saving one for the end of the show. Amanda says, nothing hard about it. Laundry. Yeah, it is hard for men because we have 10,000 other things going on. And the last thing we want to think about is, just can't do it. Amanda says, he's out of cigarettes, Fab Daddy. Patty says, same place when they went to the moon. Interesting. What kind he smoke? That kind. The cheap kind. Walter Davis says, when you get to the bottom, you'll know it. Until then, you'll be falling so long, it's like gravity gone, and you're just floating. True. Yeah, when you reach terminal velocity, which is technically as fast as you can fall in an Earth environment, that's 120 miles an hour. When you reach that, you are, in effect, weightless. You don't feel the fall. You just feel like you're there. And then all of a sudden, the sudden stop at the end, that's what gets you. And what orbit is literally falling towards the Earth and missing it. You're high enough that when you fall towards the center of the Earth and the Earth moves and you go past it, and then gravity catches you and you fall again and go past it again. It's like a slingshot, like this. Orbit is not circular, it's oblong because you're falling past the Earth and being slung back around, right? So you have to be at a certain distance from the Earth for that to be a stable orbit. And the closer you are to the Earth, the harder it is to achieve because you're getting closer and closer to hitting the Earth. And if you manage to hit the Earth's atmosphere while in orbit, you'll turn sharply and go down. And that's not good. That means you're dead. That's how they re-enter the atmosphere. They hit the orbit at right angle, or they hit the atmosphere at the right angle. They call it a window. And there's only a couple of places in the atmosphere where they can do it safely because of the jet stream and all that. That's why they always fall in the ocean. Anyway, they have to hit it just the right angle, and they kind of turn as they go in, like a little corkscrew. And that minimizes the amount of heat on the outside, because when you go through the atmosphere at a speed, you heat up because it causes friction. And that's what all the plasma that envelops the spaceship, that's what that is friction causing that. You can go through the atmosphere slowly, and it will not get hot. It will not hurt you. Here's the problem. You're falling, and you can't fall slowly. If you could, be a different story, but it would take too much fuel to keep you going slowly through the atmosphere. It'd take more than they can carry, so that's why they just do it that way. They just fall into the atmosphere. Contrary to popular belief, the space shuttle did not fly. It could not fly. It was a falling brick with wings. They used the wings to stabilize the fall, and they fell into an airport. It did not fly. It could not take off, for example. That's why I had to be on top of a rocket to get up there. John H. says, Doodlebug as known. I don't know what you're asking. Who's known as a doodlebug? Do you know what a doodlebug is? Have you ever seen a doodlebug? If you haven't, I recommend you go out to your barn and look around on the dirt and look for a little conical-shaped divot in the dirt, and then take a piece of rice and place it right outside that conical piece and back up and wait. Or better yet, get a scoop and scoop inside of that and pick it up and then shake the dirt off. What you'll find is something that looks like an alien. It is a very unusual critter under that little divot in the dirt. It looks like an alien. It might be an alien. Go check that out if you've never seen one. Amanda says, Monarch full flat. I don't smoke Monarchs. I smoke Montegos. Or whatever's on sale. Sometimes I smoke Lucky Strikes. Sometimes I smoke, I think there's a new one called MHL or something like that. They're the $4 brands. Whatever. And if I don't smoke those, I make my own, which I did for about 5 years. And for whatever reason, I just got tired of doing it every other day, so I just bought a pack of cigarettes. They're cheap enough, might as well. Definitely a lot cheaper to make my own, though. But it's labor intensive. Walter Davis says, why? It doesn't matter what I smoke. I'm going to smoke one with you now. Because it's less harsh than that thing. They took people with the brain of cereal boxes, says Aaron. To what? To be astronauts? I believe that. Walter says, Rosie goes to space and any alien invasions will be rethunked. Yeah, they'll be sending her back, huh? Amanda says, he was off for 2 days this week, so he didn't make much money. Stop telling people that. And we're almost at the end of the month. You know how it is. Right on. Isme says, it was 83 degrees in the 50s in suburbs of Detroit. Perfect for low energy costs in the time of the year. It was 83 degrees in the 50s. You mean the year's the 50s? Is that what you're saying? I don't understand what you're... It was 83 degrees down to the 50s? 83 to 50, is that what you're saying? Try to rephrase that one because I don't quite understand what you're saying there. Aaron says it's a 360 degrees green screen. I have a video of me using one. You're talking about the VR wall that I was talking about earlier. It's not a green screen. It's computerized. They can do a lot with green screens. There's one behind me right now. And this is a video of me using a green screen. And I can do some pretty cool things with mine. Let's see. I could take you into outer space. Hang on. I forgot these are not sized up. There we go. I could take you into outer space. I don't have one of actual space loaded up. I do have one, but I like this one. This is my favorite one. Fab Daddy says, we have a suspension bridge crossing Lake Oroville. It looks just like the Golden Gate Bridge. Right, I got you. You're talking about the 44s? Yeah, that's called you're right, it's a suspension bridge or pressure bridge. And they use the weight of the bridge to keep it level. And we have one of those in Florida, too, called the Skyway. Is that the 44s? I might have that confused up with the one in Tampa. There's one in Florida anyway, and they call it the 44s because that's what it looks like. But that might not be the Skyway. I might have it confused. Kevin can tell you. He's there now. Amanda could probably tell you, too. She's from there. And I'm from there, too, but it's been 20 years. Doodlebugs nearly wiped London out, says John. Wow. The great Doodlebug battle of the 1800s. What are we talking about? Painted a different color, says Fab Daddy. Yeah, it's not golden. Right. Tom Cruise? Ridley Scott? No, not Ridley Scott. It was I forgot it again. I said it earlier. Stanley Kubrick. Patty says, what are doodlebugs, Mr. John? And Aaron says, Stanley Kubrick. That's right. Johnny says, the V2 rockets. Right on. Fab Daddy says, yeah, John, doodlebugus. Walter says, they filmed the moon landing on a set in case it didn't go right. A bit of it has been chopped up and used as propaganda that we didn't go to the moon. Okay. Aaron says, ice cream time. Oh, ice cream. Nice. I don't have any ice cream, but I got some caramels with the little white thing in the middle. I like those. I might have some ice cream. I don't know. I might not have eaten it all. Amanda says, LOL, Aaron, I was going to make cake today, but I didn't get into it. But don't get into it. Oh, but didn't get to it. We do have ice cream. Okay, so I might have some ice cream with you then, Aaron. Cookies and cream. Aaron says, John Mayer said in a song, when they own the information, they can bend it all they want. I agree. And Red Hot Chili Peppers said, space may be the final frontier, but it's filmed in a Hollywood basement. Batshit Crazy says, Chief, what's up, Batshit? Nice to see you, buddy. Welcome to the show. Amanda says, hi, Batshit Crazy. And Aaron says, you cool. Walter says, Tucker is off of Fox and does a podcast, and he's pretty good now. Yeah, I like Tucker Carlson. I was just saying that for whatever good or bad, he is a personality and was for a while on Fox News and many others. And they are personalities also. They're not news people is what I'm saying. And he is good. I think I like Tucker Carlson when he was on Fox, and I think he was sincere, and I think he did a good job. Still lean to the right, though. Batshit Crazy says, Aaron, clarify what spacecraft. Aaron says, sorry, dog's walking across the keyboard again. And Danny says, Stanley Kubrick confessed to the phony creation of the moon landing 10 days before he died. I have seen the video of his confession to the biggest fraud he was involved in, self-cleansing from karma. Self-cleansing from karma. I've seen that video also, and I also know that some people claim that was an actor playing Stanley Kubrick, and it was a fake. I don't know what to believe on that one. I have seen that video, though. It is interesting. Amanda says, LOL. Walter Davis says, Ron, Aaron, The Who said that in 1969. Fab Daddy says, we got hit hard by sunburst, CME. That's a coronal mass injection for those of you in the know. Nice aurora borealis. Nice. That means that there's going to be sunspots all next week, and you can look for your cell service to be spotty. And the inevitable skin cancer if you get hit by one. I think that's what killed my mother. I don't have any proof of that, but when I saw the x-ray, it looked like she was shot. It was a straight line through her. She had a bump on her under her arm here, and it hurt. So we went to have it checked out. Turns out it was lung cancer, and it looked like a bullet had went through her and then spaghettied out into an octopus in her lung. That's what it looked like. And I recall about 2 weeks prior to that, she was driving and then passed out while driving. She felt like she had a stroke. She had what was called a what's that called? TIA. It's a transient brain. It's not a stroke, but it's a tiny stroke. TI, something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, I thought then, and that week we were at Solar Maximus, and they were having sunspots like crazy. And I thought then that she had been hit by a random electron while going to town, because that happens. I don't know if you know that or not, but we're bombarded by random electrons, and the likelihood of us being struck by one is about the likelihood of being struck by an asteroid, which usually end up in the ocean or the desert, because most of the land is that, and it's just a roll of the dice if something hits a thing, you know. Most of the time it's going to land in snow or water. But occasionally it does happen. And then when I saw that picture, it confirmed that hypothesis. I think she got hit by a random electron and it caused lung cancer, because that's what happens with the radiation from space. If you go into space, they run the risk every time of being struck by random electrons, and it destroys DNA. That's what it does. It causes cancer. That's why you can't go through the Van Allen radiation belts, because of the amount of radiation that when we get a aurora borealis, that's where it comes from, is the Van Allen radiation belt. It goes from the poles around the Earth. And so you can't leave the Earth without hitting it. There are places where it's thinner than other places, but that's near the poles, and it's also where it's the most strong. So go figure. Aaron says, batshit crazy, what is your question? I think he said you have to specify what spaceship. I'm not sure. I think he might have joined us late. We're talking about the Blue Origin's rocket that went up with the 5 old ladies in it this past week. It's Me says, I didn't even watch the broadcast. Oh, well. Which one? Aaron says, I learned something. Thanks, Walter. Right on. And Amanda says, the Blue Origin's rocket, batshit crazy. Right on. Don't get fooled again, says Walter. Oh, no. Bill Bennett says, it wasn't a ride. Those women are now astronauts, LOL. Yeah. Astronauts. Astronauts, maybe. They literally buckled into a seat and sat there for 11 minutes. That's what they did. Nothing else. They didn't have a joystick. They didn't have a computer. They didn't have a book. They didn't have a phone. Well, they had a phone, but they didn't have anything else. Aaron says, LOL, I didn't know about it until I watched Jake. Well, now you know, and no one's half the battle. Aaron says, I'm sure I will, Walter. It's human nature to learn. I hope so. It's me says, are they signaling unclean spirits on the audience? I don't know. I don't know about that at all. It's possible. There's some weirdness going on with that thing, to be sure. But I don't know. Walter says 5 independent women go into space in penis. Yep, that's what happened. Batshit says, as Ron, math does not math. Orbit. I think he was, that spaceship. I think he was talking about the one that Elon Musk set up with the car in it. It orbited. So I think that's the one he was talking about, because I was talking about the stark differences between the two, the Blue Origin and stuff that Elon does. And I think that's what he was referring to. Walter says, what are the optics of that? Girl power. Girls can do it. Girls get it done. Aaron says, batshit, what are you asking me? He was asking about the comment about the orbiting, when you said the math don't math. And I think you were referring to the Elon Musk sending the Tesla up. Patty says, if Hollywood was involved, what does that tell you? Tells me it's fake. Batshit Crazy says, Aaron, all good. He figured it out. Walter says, my guess is Bezos was hoping was hoping an accident would rid him of an obnoxious girlfriend. You mean the Hamburglar? Yeah. That's what the wrench was for. That's a backup. If you panned out, Oprah was probably standing there with a baseball bat. Bill Bennett says, Easter in my brain is our sweet Lord's resurrection. I hear you, Bill. Walter says 4. My guess is Bezos was hoping for an accident to get rid of one of his obnoxious girlfriends. Yeah, she is obnoxious. And she looks like the Hamburglar. And I'm not being mean. She looks like the Hamburglar. Go look at a picture of her and you tell me what you see. Aaron says, I was saying that the math and the formula for the order didn't match the pattern and as an engineer, we understand how it was supposed to fly, and that's all I was saying, Bat. Right. Well, according to engineers, the reason it looks like it flies over your head is because the Earth is spinning, and it flies upwards, but it goes over your head and then into the ocean. That's what it looks like. I've stood there and watched it happen. It looks like it goes in a circle down into the ocean. It goes way up, over, and then down. And there's ocean over there. That very well could be, if the Earth is that round, it could be that. I don't know. Just don't look right. I have seen things go straight up and they didn't go over. And they went straight up until out of sight. So maybe the Earth sometimes stands still. Maybe sometimes they don't. I don't know. Or maybe they're flying those things into the ocean. I don't know. Walter says the sun is hot from radiation. Same reason things get hot in a microwave, but plastic does not. How do you know the sun is hot? Because it's bright. LEDs are bright. They don't get hot. But I do. Sitting in front of them. I can reach over there and touch that thing right now. It's ice cold, but I'm hot. That's called radiation. It's radiating heat onto me, but it doesn't get hot itself. So how do you know the sun's hot? But yes, it's exactly why microwaves work. Same thing. It is convectional heat in a vacuum. Fab Daddy says Jake needs 1.5 million to ride the next penis rocket. Feed Jake. Amen. Bring it on. I'll do it. But I want the door seat because I want to put my foot out and hold the door shut. Make sure nobody it turns the handle that's clearly on it. Fab, it was 1.5 million No, it was 15 million. I think it means a person, but that math don't math up either. I don't know. I know it's ridiculous. That's when you have too much money. You have penis-shaped rockets and send old ladies into space for a laugh. That's when you got too much money. Who knew book sales would have been so powerful? If I'd have known that back in the day, I would have sold used books. What are you saying? Jeff Bezos started out on a door between two sawhorses selling books, used books, on the internet. That's how Amazon began. And it stayed that way for about 5-6 years. And then all of a sudden, boom, multi-million-dollar company. And now they're building warehouses everywhere. And it just kept getting bigger. And now they sell everything. And movies. And TV shows. And apparently rides on penis-shaped rockets. Write it down that I said so. Somebody's going to die very soon in a penis-shaped rocket from Bezos. Because that thing is not sturdy. It is not sound. That is not space-worthy, I promise. And music. The car, says Eric. I knew I was right. Bill Bennett says, Elon really launched the Roadster, and there was crystal secrets. Hell, I don't know. It sounded real. Well, all I'm saying is either space is what it is or it isn't. Either space is a vacuum, and either it gets really hot in sunlight or it don't. You can't have it both ways. I've never been there, so I cannot attest to the efficacy of space. I can't attest to its being real because I can't see it from where I'm standing. But they say it's out there, and they say it's a vacuum, and they say the reason they have to have specialized tools like a screwdriver that costs $10,000 is because metal screwdrivers, the ones you can buy at the dollar store for $1.50, they get really hot in direct sunlight and can burn a hole in your spacesuit, and you don't want that to happen because you'll die, turn into a leather rug. Anyway, if that's true, what do you think that does to a paint job? Or leather seats? This was a convertible. It had a spaceman in the driver's seat. It was a convertible with the top down. It was a candy apple red Roadster. It had wheels. It had oil. They did not drain the engine. They just rolled it in there and put it on there. Elon did nothing to that car. It was how he drove it there. It's his car. They put it on, they mounted it, however they mounted it, and they launched it. Did you see anything? Did you see the tires burst? Because they're oxygen in the tires. They're rubber tires on metal frames with oxygen in them. What do you think happens in a vacuum when you put a inflated piece of rubber in a vacuum? The oxygen inside wants to come out. That's how vacuums work. So at the very least, the tires should have popped. Did they? I didn't see them. The paint didn't peel. The window did not fog up like is like to happen in hot and cold environments. The pleather dashboard didn't ripple or bubble. The leather seats didn't turn white. The paint didn't peel. It looked pristine. And they kept the camera on the car for a good long while. Explain to me why none of that happened. The oil didn't come out of the motor. Explain it to me, please. Sounded real. It did sound real. It didn't look real. Amanda says, CashApp, $JakeJohnsonBand, or PayPal.me/JakeJohnsonBand. Thank you, Panda. Fab Daddy says, parabolic arc. The planes fly. Yes, that's called a vomit comet. It's owned by some military organization, I'm not sure which, and they rent it out. You can go buy a seat on it today. I don't know how much it costs, but you can get one. People do it all the time. There's been movies filmed in the thing. That's how they get weightless scenes in some movies. Amy Elizabeth says, like, shared, and invited some friends. All that kind of stuff. Hey, y'all. Hey, Amy, how you feeling today? Are you feeling better? I hope you're feeling better. And Amanda says, hi, Amy. And, yep, are you feeling better? Aaron says, the funny Amy has arrived. Amy says, Amanda, I went to urgent care today and started antibiotics and steroids. Good. I hope you get to feeling better soon, Amy. And I hope that you don't have pneumonia. Amanda says, good, Amy. You will feel better soon. Aaron says, is your pneumonia condition getting better? Amy says, the spacecraft looked like a shake weight or a dildo. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And Amanda says, hey, Gravitron is a ride at the fair. I love that ride. That's, yeah, Gravitron, not Graviton. A graviton is a mythical particle that carries gravity waves. Graviton. Gravitron is a ride at the fair. Aaron says, I wonder, can you hear it vibrate from space? Yes. It's me, says Mel Brooks is cool. My two favorite was Life Stinks and Frankenstein. I loved Life Stinks, but I think Life of Brian was pretty good. And obviously, the Holy Grail, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which was not Mel Brooks, but it was Mel Brooks inspired. Actually, I might have both of those from Monty Python. Forget what I said. Spaceballs, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, Life Stinks. History of the World. That's what I was thinking of, not the other one. History of the World, not Life of Brian. Life of Brian is Monty Python, who is Mel Brooks inspired. Amanda says, geez, Gage. I still don't know what you mean. Amy Elizabeth says, how did they open the door from the capsule from the inside? Because it has a handle on it, because it's not real. That's not how pressurized doors work. It requires a crew to open it from the outside with bolts. And it has an explosive charge under each one of those bolts in case you're in there by yourself. You hit the panic button and it explodes and it knocks the door off. You don't want to do that, though, because it's like being hit by an airbag on the inside. That shockwave has got to go somewhere. But if you're in space and you have a problem, or if you land in the ocean and they can't get to you before you sink, but other than that, it requires a crew on the outside to open the door. That's how pressurized doors work. This was a flimsy plastic door, is what it looks like, or wooden door. And it has there were 3 bolts in the door, or 4. I think there was only 3 that you can see visible. And he only turned one of them, and he never made a full rotation with his little tool. I saw him do it. He went like this, and then the door popped open. And then if you turn your volume all the way up while watching that video, you will hear him say they didn't even close it all the way, to his friend that was standing right there, which you could not hear on the news. But if you go watch the video on YouTube and turn the volume up, you can hear it. So, yeah, that whole thing is bullshit. Now, why? I don't know why. I don't know why they would fake it or feel the need to if they actually did it. But there it is. Fab Daddy says, look at the lips as the indicator of G. If they made an O, you found it. Amanda says, LOL, Fab. Fab Daddy says, take a scale into an elevator and stand on it. You will weigh more going up than going down. This is true because you're moving. And gravity is at play. Because gravity is a reaction to movement. Much like if I push you and you fall over, that's a reaction to this movement. So is gravity, a reaction to the movement of everything. It's not a force. There is no thing, mysterious or otherwise, producing a gravitons that cause gravity. That's not real. That's some bullshit science made up. It's not real. Stick with me, kid. I'll teach you things about the universe. Real things, not scientific one-dimensional things on paper things. Real things. Fab Daddy says, I read that one. Amy says, duck lips. Exactly. They did duck lips in space. If you went to space, is that what you would be thinking about? Or would you be pressed up against a window trying to see heaven? Because that's where I'd be. Aaron says, I called them quack babies, Amy. Them and that stupid face. Like Mick Jagger in a happy mood. Amy Elizabeth says, Fab Daddy, weigh yourself in kilograms instead of pounds and you weigh less. 74 kilograms is 160 pounds. I like it. Way to cheat your brain. And Amanda says, Fab Daddy, you hit 3 G's in a drag car. You only need to hit 2 G's to experience something other than standing here on planet Earth. If you want weightlessness, you only need 2. So if you hit 3, you're probably macrame into the seat on Earth. But if you were in space, you'd be floating. There's that. Amy says, everything is bullshit. Yes, it is. And every day I look, the more I see. I am surrounded by bullshit. Everywhere I look. I've looked everywhere. I've looked at all kinds of places. And everywhere I look, I see a bunch of bullshit. And I'm beginning to get tired of it. And I'm hoping that I can convince some of you to go along with me on that journey because I'm not making it up. It's there. I may not have all the answers. I may not understand it fully. But I'm telling you, the world is not what it appears to be. It is something different. And what we see was created for us to see. Why? I don't know. Fab Daddy says, who you calling a drag? A car. She said it. Drag car. Amanda says, if that shoe fits, then wear it, Cinderella. Oh, snap. Amy says, I watched RuPaul's drag racing once. False advertisement. It had nothing to do with cars. Poor RuPaul. Aaron says, tragic. Amanda says, LOL, Amy, Kamala went on RuPaul. She did. Fab Daddy says, if there is a Debbie Downer, then there has to be a Dragon Darren. I'm with you. Amy says, Fab Daddy, smiley face. And Amanda says, LOL, your chat's gonna jump. Got a Christine Marshall in the chat. Hey, buddy. Good gracious. It's a typical Friday night. Chat's long. I'm trying. It keeps growing. I know. Amanda says, LOL, I bet the site was tragic. Dana says, why? Do they fake things? They have fun with it. Give them a beard and a circus, and they will never revolt. I agree. Give them bread and a circus, not beards. They revolt all the time with beards. You have to have bread and circuses to not revolt. You are right. You are absolutely right. Aaron says, message retracted. Amy says, they always been revolting. Now they're rebelling. Movie quote. Right on. And 10 years ago, well, how did he say that? 10,000 years ago, you thought the earth was flat. 10 years ago, you thought you were the smartest person in the room. And 15 minutes ago, you thought you were the only person in the universe. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow. A person is smart. Crowds are dumb, panicky, and eccentric, and you know it. What's that movie from? Name that movie. Aaron says, if I drag race a donkey, is that dragging ass? Yes. I'm trying to quit smoking, says Amy. I can't breathe. Well, put your hands up. That seems to work for some people. Amanda says, well, don't power hit it. if you want to quit smoking, power to you. I hope you can. And I hope that you can keep quit. It's a hard thing to do, especially if you enjoy doing it. Amanda says, LOL, yes, Aaron. And Amy says, it's against the law for men to do laundry. Men can't participate in women's sports. I like where your head's at. See that, Amanda? It's against the law. Amanda says, LOL, Amy. And Aaron says, I'd really race the donkey rather than do laundry. I'd rather race donkeys than do laundry. I agree. I'd rather spin around in an office chair to see how fast I can go before I flip over than to do laundry. Amanda says, oh, Aaron, it's not that bad. And Aaron says, you're right, but I have to haul it across the RV park. Doing it is easy. Right on. Getting it there's the problem. I understand. You need to go down to the local dollar store and steal one of their buggies, and then you'll have a buggy and you can push it across with laundry in it and you look like a bag lady. Just put like newspaper in your shirt or something and a big funny hat on and you'll fit right in. Nobody will even question you. Amy says, I have to use fabric scent beads, Gain fabric softener and soap, dryer sheets. I like my laundry to smell good. I like dryer sheets. I do not like fabric softener. I like them for two reasons. Number one, I am hyperkinetic. Do you know what that means? That means that during fall and winter, I get the piss shocked out of me every time I touch anything metal. For whatever reason. Anyway, a dryer sheet is like Scotch Guard. It will help with static electricity. And my clothes are part of the reason that I get shocked. So I fabric soften with sheets. It helps that problem. If I put a fabric softener sheet in my back pocket, it eliminates that problem for a little while. So there's that. Good tip for you if you happen to have that problem. Don't care how they smell. I'm not smelling my clothes. And Amanda says, yep, now that does suck. And get you a wagon, Aaron, or a shopping cart. Aaron says, I like that part too, Amy. It makes me happy. Right on. And Amanda says, or one of them old lady baskets on wheels. I said that. See, that's my thought. Let me have my thoughts. John says, when I jumped out of a plane, it felt like weightlessness for around at 15,000 feet. I bet. I've never jumped out of an airplane. I have perfectly good feet. I have no reason to go up there and jump out of a perfectly good airplane. I don't understand the concept. Why would you do that? My life's not challenging enough. Damn that. Aaron says, psst, I am the wagon, Amanda. I put it in a tote and get moving. Right on. My mama used to say, never mind the mule, just load the wagon. I agree with you. Amanda says, me too, Amy. It drives Jake crazy because he has heightened senses of smell. Yes, I do. Despite the fact that I'm a heavy smoker, I have a very heightened sense of smell. They bring meat to me, and I can smell it a week before it goes bad. Why? I don't know. I should be one of those wine smellers. I don't like heavy scents, though. Air fresheners are a big problem for me. I don't like them. There's a couple of them I can tolerate, like the one that smells like laundry or the one that smells like ocean. I can tolerate those. Anything flowery, I can't stand it. I can't stand lemon. I like cinnamon. I can't take anything anything like that. I can't take it. It's too much. So she's got to kind of dance around to, she likes candles and stuff like that, and it drives me insane. I tolerate it, though, because it makes her happy. But she cuts down on it to make me happy. Aaron says, does he like it? I do not like smelly things, no. Amy says, a doodle bug is a brown plastic attachment on a handle we use in janitorial work to get the corners when refinishing the wax on a floor. Interesting. It's ant lion larva, says Aaron. Interesting. Well, what's the thing I'm talking about? The little divot in the dirt and the little monster that's under that will jump up and grab flies and stuff and go back down in the hole? It's not a spider. It looks like an alien. It looks like the alien from the movie Alien, actually. Kind of. It's not black, it's gray, but other than that, it kind of has that look. Like a xenomorph. Amy says the rotary is round and can't get the wax off the corners, so we use a doodlebug. Nice. John says in WW2, the British people was calling the V2 rockets doodlebugs. Look it up. I believe you. I wasn't there, but I believe you. I mean, you guys got hit with those things, so I would imagine you'd know. Aaron says, ant lions are crazy. We got red ones. You ever seen a calcular? Do you know what a calcular is? Is that a northern thing? Are you in the north? Or are you in Florida? I can't remember. There are two kinds of calculars. There's the red ones, and there's the red ones with the black stripes. Both of them will hurt very badly if they bite you. They got their name honestly. A pack of them can kill a cow. And they're all over the South. And when you cut them in half, because you can't just smash them, they won't smash. They're very tough, very robust animals. But you can cut them in half. They buzz. I think they're screaming, but it sounds like a buzz. Bzzz. Anyway. He's probably saying, oh, my God, I'm cut in half. Jesus Christ, what happened here? It's probably that kind of thing, but I don't speak ant, so second-class citizens. Amy says, depends on the context of the definition of a doodlebug. Right on. I understand you're steeped in the doodlebug debate, but we were talking about an actual doodlebug. It's me says upper 83 today and low tonight 50s. Yes, Jake. Okay, I got it. I understand now. Sorry about that. Amy says Godzilla is tangled in a suspension bridge. Got tangled in a suspension bridge. I haven't seen any Godzilla movies except for the one that had Matthew Broderick in it, and it sucked. I may have seen the Mothra one when I was a kid, the black and white one, but I'm not sure. I may have just seen clips of it. I don't know. I have a vague memory of it, but I don't know if I saw the whole movie or not. Amanda says, it's the Sweetwater Suspension Bridge, the 44s in Milton, Florida. Okay. Thank you. That's not the Skyway. Skyway doesn't have the 44s. The Sweetwater Bridge does. Okay. And Amy Elizabeth says caramel with the thingy in the middle, and they're called cowtails here. No. There are cowtails, which are the same thing, but they're sticks. You can get a cowtail. These are just your little candies. I'll show you one. It says Cotes. That's what I'm talking about. That's not a cowtail, but they do make cowtails, and they are the same thing. Caramel with white in the middle, but it's a stick. Aaron says, I used to get them from the dollar store. I love those candies. Those are awesome. And they're good, Amy. The cowtails. They are good. They're exactly the same as that, and you can just eat on them. Early bedtime says, it's me. Y'all have a good evening. It's me. Thank you for being here. God bless you, sir. We love you. And Amanda says, Jake likes them. I do. And good night, it's me. Amy Elizabeth says, can y'all add Sandy T to your prayers? Her house was hit by a drunk driver. It was condemned. And then thieves came in and stole whatever was left. Father, we ask that you keep your hands on Sandy T. We ask that you guide her and keep her spirits up. And we ask that you help her replace whatever she has lost and help her find her way. And all things in your will, Father, but be with her family if you can be. Thank you, Lord, in Jesus' precious name. Amen, amen, and amen. I hope that helps, Amy. Aaron says, oh, no. Amy says she lives in Vegas. Petty Mall Stroke, says Amy Elizabeth. It's called a TIA or a TI, something like that. It's a transient something or other in the brain. Aaron says, I hope her insurance covers it. Hope so, too. Amy says, she had insurance, Aaron, but it'll take time to process. Hopefully she won't be homeless before they figure out how to give her some money. Christine Marshall says, hey, y'all. I've been busy back to doing both jobs for a while. Just saying hi and hit your Cash App with something smaller. Well, thank you, Christine. I appreciate you. God bless you, sir. I'm sure it's fine. It hasn't come in yet, but I appreciate the thought. Amanda says the drunk driver insurance should cover it if he had it. Prayers for Sandy. Yeah, just because they drive don't mean they got insurance. That's a big problem. Amanda says, hi, Christine. Bill Bennett says, good night, Untethered Live family. God bless you all. Have a good weekend, and you guys rock. Bill, God bless you, sir. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Have a good weekend. Aaron says, yeah, when Ian hit, FEMA took 3 years to help us. Oh, yeah. They didn't even bother with the people in North Carolina when this other thing happened, this flood. They didn't do anything for them. In fact, if they had Trump signs out front, they ignored them altogether. They didn't even go to their houses. That's horrible. Somebody should go to jail for that. My house was flooded back one of the hurricanes. I don't remember which one. But they didn't offer us anything. We had to rebuild ourselves. If it wasn't for the church down the road helping us buy material, we wouldn't have even got that done. So, and we had insurance, but they don't cover flood insurance. Amanda says, good night, Bill. And Amy says, we're all astronauts. I heard that line from Armageddon. If you consider this spaceship Earth, yes. Christine, how you been doing, buddy? Good to see you. Christine says, Amanda, I feel spaced out, but I'm here listening. Thank you, Christine. Amanda says, LOL, Christine. And we are all spaced out tonight. Absolutely. Christine says, LOL. Aaron says, thank you guys for being my friends. Some nights I really need friends. Well, Aaron, you have them, and we love you. And you can reach out anytime you want to. You've got my email address. If you email me, I'll give you my phone number if you want to call. I'll be around. Christine says, good one. I caught that one. And I hear you. Aaron, Amanda says, oh, you're welcome, Aaron. And we like having you here. Absolutely. Christine says, the Benny Johnson show said Trump said that Katy Perry thing was indeed fake. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know for sure, but it don't look real to me. Amanda says, totally fake. Dana says the Blue Origin went out with something, but I assure you they were not ladies. Lady is a beautiful title for a real woman, earned by her lovely characteristics, integrity, honor, dignity, and decency. Amen. True. And I use lady sparingly when I'm talking about them. The real meaning of the word lady is somebody like you, poised, intelligent, charming, witty, and gracious. All of those things make a lady. These women are not that. These are old, childless people. They don't have children. They don't have lives. They're celebrities. That's all they care about. And likewise, while in space, all they could do was look at themselves. That ought to tell you everything you need to know. This was an exercise in narcissism. That's all this was. Patty says, good night, Mr. Bill. Christine says, wow. McCrorer says, hey, Walter. McCrorer. I'll get used to saying that. McCorr, please come back. Hit the subscribe button if you like what you've seen tonight. It gets better. We do many things here. We have a political night on Saturdays. We have Bible study Sunday and Monday. And on Wednesday and Friday, we have a chill stream. And one of those nights in the very near future, as soon as I make enough money to be able to pay for the service, is going to provide a panel with many different opinions and discussions on very many topics. So that's going to happen. But it is a thing I have to pay for, so I have to make money to pay for it. But we're getting there. We are growing. And I hope you stick around to see where we go, because we got some good content. And there's over 1,000 videos of backlogged stuff that you can watch if you're bored. Get caught up on who we are. Got a real good community here. This chat is A1. I've been to many places, and I've seen many chat rooms. And as far as quality people go, these people are it. You want to hang out with them, I promise. McCrory says, hey, Walter. And Patty says, I agree, Miss Dana. Rose. McCrory says, absolutely a ritual. I believe that. A big sacrifice coming. I believe that too. John says, what about the space station, which you can see with a telescope? You can see it orbit the Earth. Well, I believe there's something up there for sure. I couldn't tell you what it is. It vaguely looks like an H in a telescope. Is there people on board? Apparently there are. Elon Musk had to save 2 people that were stranded there for 9 months. You don't even hear them talking about them, but you hear them talking about these 5 women that went into space. But not the 2 astronauts that were up in space for 9 months. And nobody went and got them because nobody could get up. They couldn't be bothered to go get them. Elon Musk had to go save them. So we should be talking about that. But it's definitely up there. I remember when they built that thing. It started out as the ISS space station, a single module. And then it grew over time. And then for a while, it was working in tandem with the Mir space station, the Russian space station. That has since fell out of orbit. They've taken it down. It's no longer up there. But for a while, they worked in tandem, and then they built the space station, the ISS, out, and now there's all kinds of people up there representing many countries. So there's no borders in space, as they like to say. Amanda says, and Amazon Music, too, talking about all the stuff that Amazon does. Yep. And Dana says, hi, dear Patty Donahue, ! Rose. McCrory says, message retracted. Amanda says, the tires could have had nitrogen in them. They don't put nitrogen in tires, honey. He drove that car to the place. They mounted it and sent it into space. They did not deflate the tires or replace the oxygen or whatever. McCrory says the phallic penis spaceship was placed into embryonic fluid, which was the space, which is the empty space, the room, and they ejected ejaculate. Okay, I can see that happening. And technically, all those things are true. Christine Marshall says, I heard they took selfies in space when they got up there, and I thought no way they would be stunned like anyone who has spoke about their interpretation of what they felt and seen. Exactly. They never even looked outside. They did say a few lines that made you think they were looking outside, like, look at the thin blue line. We're floating, that sort of thing. Like propaganda, like as if we can't see what you're doing. It was like they were trying to sell that they were in space. That's exactly what you would write if you were writing a script. Anyway, they were not pressed against the window. They spent most of their time taking selfies and playing with toys that they brought up there, little stuffed animals, and one girl had a daisy that was Katy Perry. Why aren't your faces planted against the window trying to look out and see all you can see? It's weird. One of them said, look, there's our pink moon, which isn't pink. It looks like a potato. They didn't seem overly impressed by that, which striking to me because I've always seen the moon in our sky, which is looking at it through our atmosphere is like looking through a magnifying glass, so it looks real big. When you get up above the atmosphere, it looks like a little potato out there in space. It does not look like the moon you see on the ground. That struck me as weird when I first saw it. Amy says, if you put a big piece of rubber in a vacuum, she has to stop vacuuming to get it out. I like it. McCrory is message retracting again. Amy says, LOL. Amanda says, LOL, Amy. McCrory says, it never happened. It was a sexual ritual. Okay. I believe that. Fab Daddy says, 2 and 5. The dinner triangle just rang. Have a great night, everybody. Well, what are you having for dinner? And good night. We love you. Come back. We're going to have a debate pretty soon. Amanda says, good night, Fab. McCrory says, message retracted. Walter says, good night, all. Going to bed. Walter, God bless you, sir. I'm not far behind you. McCrory says, oh, hey, Walter, good night. I guess. Message retracted. Christine says, good night. Are you leaving us, Christine? Debbie says, Aaron saw the video, thinking of changing my name to jakejohnsonband. Nice. jakejohnsonband. Hey, Debbie, how are you? jakejohnsonband? Amanda says, good night, Walter. And Aaron says, if you put a penis-shaped object in a dark place, it's going to turn white and lose fluid. I'm just saying. Good gracious. Amy says, hey, Debbie. And John says, it looked like a Tampax holder to me. It sure does. Aaron says, oh, finally, Debbie. Christine Marshall says, Trump talking slavery, y'all. Remember Barack Obama signed into law Executive Order 13603, authorizing slave labor on American soil? Yes, those things do occur. Christine, nice point. Amanda says, hey, Debbie. And Dana says, hi, Christine Marshall. Good to see you. Wavy hand, thumbs up. It's been a while. Christine says, Dana, you too. Now, we've been missing you, Christine. Are you doing all right? Are you working hard? Are you getting things done? Aaron says, Debbie, did you see part 2 of that skit? And Amy says, once again, everything is bullshit. Agreed. I really have to write that book. I need to start writing what topics I'm going to cover in the book to prove that everything is bullshit. So I really need to start working on the outline. Debbie says, my mother's name was Jacqueline, and when my dad read that, he said no and renamed me Deborah. Ha 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 ha. So it would work. Or my mother named me Jacqueline. Deborah. What's wrong with Jacqueline? I like the name Jacqueline. It's a very nice name. It's powerful, strong. I like Debbie, too. Deborah. Deborah's from the Bible. The A-H in the name Deborah is the breath of God. Think about that. And Amanda says, that's right, Amy. And Debbie says, no, there's a part 2. Gonna have to look for it. And Aaron says, that's your new name, Debbie. Jacqueline. Amy says, remember the skit from the Muppets? Pigs in Space. That's kind of what happened here. Only one of them looked like the Hamburglar. Aaron says, yeah, Debbie. Aaron and B-L-K get into trouble. I'll have to check that out. I do not know what you're talking about. Hang on, my chat jumped again. I found it. Aaron says, Amy, it was a Key and Peele skit. Amy says, Key and Peele took the idea from the Muppets. Right on. Christine Marshall says, Amy Beth, you're right. This is Satan's world. Lucifer spelled backwards is refutal. Or refical. I mean, shit poop. Refical. Nope, that doesn't work. Aaron says, are the skits the same? I don't know. Christine Marshall says, we were lied to about everything. Yes, you get it. You understand what I'm coming from. That's fantastic. Vera Lynn says, hello. Hey, Vera. Amy says, I remember laughing as a kid at the pigs in space. And then you grew up to see it happen in real time on TV as an adult. Aaron says, all this bullshit and we can't even farm with it. Right. Amanda says, hi, Rachel. And right, Aaron. Aaron says, but we can smell it. Yes, we can. And I'm smelling it big time. Yes, that's definitely shite. Definitely. Vera says, hi. Amy Elizabeth says, smiley faces. Aaron says, I'll shut up so it don't get longer. Please don't shut up. I'll make it. Don't quit talking on my account, folks. I'll get tired and peter out eventually, but I'll try my best to get to the bottom. It is 11 o'clock, though. But that's all right. I don't have to work tomorrow. Amy says, they use pig shit around here, and it stinks bad. LOL. We live in a farm area. There's nothing but fields around us, and they fertilize with pig shit. So, yeah, it does smell bad. Amy says, not pig shit, N-R-G. Aaron says, smiley face, and Amanda says, LOL, Amy. Aaron says, that's a shirt, Amy. Pig shit energy. I like it. And Beyond Thunderdome, says Amy Elizabeth. Yes. Border Town. Master Blaster runs Border Town. Who run Border Town? Master Blaster run Border Town. Patty says, surrounded by BS. And I have always knew that. And one of the most wonderful Bible teachers used to say, even as a child, you knew there was more to what they were telling you. I agree, 100%. I take my lessons from that wonderful Bible teacher, I believe. Christine Marshall says, RFK taking out fluoride in Utah. It's a movement for the world. Lowers IQs and makes you docile. True. And we really have been taken in by that sort of thing. They also put lithium in water in certain places and other things. Aaron says, I put a penny in the lint collector. The copper takes out the static. Interesting. I didn't know that. Christine Marshall says, ha-ha. And Amanda says, a tennis ball will do the same thing, Aaron. Just put it in the dryer. I do not want you to put a tennis ball in the dryer. I don't want to hear that thing clanging around. Amy says, cow killer, the slaughterhouse. No, it's an ant that's that big. It has big legs and it's furry. It looks like velvet, but it's red and black striped. And it runs all over the place in the South. And they're scary. And when they bite you, it hurts real bad. It's in the ant family, though, but it's a really big ant. And we got lots of them. There's two kinds. There's a red one, and then there's a red and black one. Both of them will kill you if enough of them bite you. It takes a lot. I mean, it ain't like one will kill you, but it will get infected. Amy says, if you find an ant in the house and kill it, throw it outside because ants gather the dead and bury them in ant cemeteries. Really? I usually just leave the bodies laying around so the rest of them know what's coming to them. Like Vlad the Impaler, but for ants. Aaron says, I don't have a tennis ball. And Amanda says, well, dang, Aaron. Aaron says, LOL, Amy. That's kind of funny. The ant get killed and carried off. Christine says, they say 1 ton of soy is more beneficial than 1 ton of meat. 4 cows makes a ton of meat. In a 1.5 year period, 72 tons of manure, the organs, blood, and byproducts, and the hides talk about cash. Yes. No. Soy will make your penis fall off. Stay away from it. Don't eat soy. Patty says, in my opinion, most antidepressant RXs, or drugs, has mostly fluoride in the ingredients. Western folks are taking antidepressant meds like M&Ms. Look how much weight Kenya gained before he stopped taking them. Kanye. I don't know about fluoride, but I know that antidepressants are largely bullshit. And I know that the people that prescribe them are largely bullshit. That is a racket. It's hooey. It's possible that somewhere in a university somewhere there's a guy that actually studies, psychology and can actually help you. But it's not in the strip mall where you go to get your pills. That guy doesn't know any more than I know. And he got there as part of a racket to make money. Same thing with dentistry. All that's bullshit. It's all lies. And eventually you'll find out. And if you want to find out that I'm telling you the truth, read the New York Times last week. They came out with an article about adult ADHD. Come to find out that the people that did the initial studies back in the day to prove that ADHD was a brain problem that people were suffering from, they flubbed the tests and were wrong. And 20 years later, they're admitting that they were wrong, and there's no such thing as ADHD. Turns out they discovered boredom. Because when you do something you want to do, ADHD just kind of goes away. So we've been drugging our kids with legal methamphetamines for 20 years for absolutely no reason at all. That was in the New York Times, and that's just what they'll admit to, not what they're guilty of. Consider the last 10 years and what's happened in that time. John H. says, ain't that funny, Amy? Amy says, Aaron and John, smiley face. Christine Marshall says, 1 ton of meat. The process is beneficial, 30 times more profitable. Tan the soy. Don't eat soy. It's really bad for you. It will drain you of your testosterone. Make your penis fall off. Don't mess with that stuff. It's bad for you. Aaron says, I would if they talk about going back for revenge. Linda Davis says, hi, all in chat. I'm home now. Hey, Linda, how are you? How was your time out with your people? I remember you telling me you were going out tonight. How was it? Amanda says, hi, Linda, hon. And Patty says, hi, Miss Linda. Amy says, hi, Linda. The truck is running sound, I hope. Linda says, hi, Jake. Are you talking about me, LOL? Well, I am now. And yes, Amy, the truck is running fine now. Well, now. Amy says, Linda, last time you said it cost $800 plus to fix your truck. That's how I knew. Christine Marshall says, hi, Linda. And Linda Davis says, hi, Walter. I sent you a text to let you know I am home. Aw. Amanda says, Walter said he was going to bed. And Amy says, he's awake now. Walter. Aaron says, hey, Linda. And Amanda says, they do put nitrogen in tires. I didn't know that. There are pumps next to regular air pumps at the gas stations that are tire nitrogen. I didn't know that either. I've always just seen an air pump. Must be a lefty thing. John says, Amanda, have you heard about Discord? Discord is a service that I'm not really sure what they do, but it's something to do with having groups of people that chat. I'm not exactly sure what purpose it would serve me, but it does exist. I think it's largely for gamers. John says, Patty says, it's Big Space Club and we ain't in it. Right on. George Carlin said that. Sort of. And Linda says, oh, okay, Amanda. I texted him, but no response. I heard Jake mention him, so I thought I would try here. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we love you, and we're glad you're here anyway. So, Aaron says, it would be cool if Jake had a P.O. box or a place to send fan mail he could do one night when he does unboxings. That would be cool. If you want to send me something, send me an email, and I'll send you my address. Just don't share it with anybody. I probably should get a P.O. box, but the amount of time I would use it, it would cost more than it would be beneficial. And I'm working on a very tight budget right now. I'm not making a lot of money, so, I need every penny I can get. I'm subsidizing cigarettes at the moment, so if that'll tell you anything. So, probably won't get a P.O. box, but maybe next year I can afford one, and I will be glad to do that. But if you want to send me something, send me an email. Here's my email address right here on the screen. Right here. UntetheredLivestream@gmail.com. It'll also be in the chat. And if you'll email me, I'll send you my address. And you can send me something, and I'll unbox it right here for you viewing pleasure. Although I don't know why we would do that. But I'm game for anything. Amanda says, the game thing, John. The game thing? I don't know. Aaron says, we could support the channel and send stuff. Well, you could. I would accept that. I appreciate that. You can support the channel just by showing up. That's important, too. I'm not dunning anybody. You don't have to support the channel unless you want to. And if you want to, that's wonderful. I do need it, and I could use it, but it's not a requirement. You can be perfectly fine not supporting the channel. But if you have it and you want to do it, I will accept it. Thank you. And if you want to send stuff, cool. I'll take it. I like stuff. Amy says, somebody made a fortune in latex sticks from the sexy spacesuits. The whole thing seemed like a weird space promo. I know, right? It's weird. Amanda says, I was thinking about that too, Aaron. Well, you can get a P.O. box. I don't need one at the moment. You can do streaming on it as well. What are you talking about, John? I need to go back up. Oh, Discord. You can do streaming on Discord as well. I didn't know that. I'll look into it. Is it as big as YouTube? Can I do everything on there that I can do on YouTube? Christine says exactly the only window those gals are staring through was the Fabian window. Fabian. Nice reference. The Overton window, maybe. I can do that too. Amanda says, cool, John. And Amy says stock, not stick. But the typo was hilarious, right? Linda Davis says, hi, Aaron. And Aaron says, hey, Linda, with the cool black hair. Christine says, spacesuits are pressurized so you don't explode. Right, they weren't wearing spacesuits. Did you notice that? Most astronauts wear spacesuits. They were not. They just wore jumpsuits, and they just went up and back down. That ought to tell you what you need to know there. That thing isn't pressurized. If it was, they couldn't open the doors. They didn't go into space. If they did, they'd be wearing spacesuits and have pressurized doors and tinier windows. I guess they think we forgot how spaceflight works because it was 30 years ago. And they definitely were exploding out the front of the spacesuits, says Amy. A lot of belly showing, yeah. Christine says, I've been motivated. Things are all on me, and I'm handling it. and I'm doing great. Love y'all. Well, Christine, that's fantastic to hear, and way to take the world by the horns and make your life the way you want it. That's fantastic. You got all the support we can muster. We love you, and we just wish that you'd come around more often because we miss you around here. You're a good character, and we like having you here. Aaron says, I guess Jake's chat's going to jump. I'll find it. I guess there was no space in those suits, says Aaron. Christine says, my girl is chatting on the phone, and I'm in the chat here, so thumbs up. All right. Debbie says, my dad said no because that was his high school sweetheart's name. Oh, the Jacqueline. Got it. Amy says, that's good, Christine. And AWWWC, that's sweet Debbie. Oh, that's sweet Debbie, says Amy. The C was an accident. It's sweet. It's sweet that he had your name changed so it wouldn't reflect his high school sweetheart. I got it. John says, gonna say good night. Have a blessed night, everyone. John, God bless you, sir, and thank you for being here. I hope you feel better. Amy says, good night, John. And Aaron says, Amanda, you think he will make it? I will make it. Amanda says, probably Aaron. I work hard for what I do around here, buddy. I'm going to get to the bottom. I'll get to the bottom of this one way or the other. Patty says, the same letters used to spell listen are used to spell silent. True. Nice. Amanda says, he's only 20 minutes behind. And he's fast tonight, says Aaron. I'm working on it. Amanda says, yes. Aaron says, Michigan was like that. Well, it works when I don't spend 25 minutes expounding on every comment. So I can just blast through it all. But if I run into one that I want to expound on, I have trouble pulling back from that because I get into the thought and I get into that line of thinking and then I go down the rabbit hole and I can't come out. So that's how it works. Amanda says, LOL, Jake, you're not usually home when I'm doing laundry, silly. I know. And you do a good job. I was just teasing you, and you know if you needed help, I'd do it for you. Patty says, a ball of aluminum foil works like a dryer sheet as well. I did not know that either. And Dana says, the pig manure smells like a perfume compared with the stench of what comes out of the mouth of those liars on the mainstream media and the history books. I agree, 100%. I am definitely going to write that book one day. Everything's bullshit. I have to because I've been living with this my whole life. I do not want to die being the only person that thinks that. Dana says, smiley, smiley. And Amanda says, cool, Patty. Amy says, email Jake. He'll probably give you his address, Aaron. I will. It's not hard. I just don't want to put it out on the internet, but I'll send it to you. Patty says, you were right, Dana. Christine says, soy causes cancer, I believe. Meat is more beneficial. Absolutely. Meat is very good for you, as God intended it. And he gives you a reference in the Bible as to what you can and cannot eat, or should and should not eat. It's not a commandment, but it is a reference. You shouldn't eat anything that has fins and scales, or that don't have fins and scales. If it has fins and scales, you can eat it. You shouldn't eat anything that has a split hoof and chews the cud, like a horse. I have that backwards. You eat things that have split hooves and chews the cud. Anything that don't, you shouldn't eat. Yeah. And you shouldn't eat scavengers. Yes, chicken is a scavenger. I know, the world's going to end, right? It's a scavenger, but it's a different class of scavenger. It has a gizzard that's different. A buzzard is not. That is a full-on scavenger. Don't eat a scavenger. Chicken is not exactly a scavenger. They are omnivores. They will eat anything, but they're not exactly scavengers. They do eat bugs and stuff. But they don't go after dead things. Scavengers do. Linda says, I don't know about the rest of you, But those cows sure does taste good. I agree, 100%. And soy probably does cause cancer. I don't know if it does or not, but I definitely know it lowers your testosterone. It's not good for your manliness. It'll make you grow teats. Amy says, I agree with Linda. Amanda says, I agreed, Linda. We had a big fat New York strip tonight for dinner, and they were yummy. Yes, they were delicious. I don't get steak but about once a week, but it's very good. Christine says, there is actually no proof that the sun causes cancer. No, I know. There is proof that atoms cause cancer, because that's exactly what happens when the atom runs through the body. It destroys DNA, which causes a cancer. Now, you can correlate, but we can't really get close to the sun, so it could be said that solar wind causes cancer and the sun just pushes it in our direction. Amy says, I raised 2 calves as a kid, and I named them Hamburger and T-Bone. Right on. I had a big pig named Bacon once. Patty says, Prozac has the most fluoride. Interesting. I did not know that. Debbie says, when I was in school, we had 3 long recesses because kids have to run out of energy. And they took away recesses and gave kids drugs instead. They also structure school in a way that is completely anti-male. And then they wonder why men have a problem in school. It's anti-child, for example. Children act a certain way. They just do. That's how they grow. That's how they learn. That's how they experience the world. If you put them in a box and make them function on a schedule and force them to do things they don't want to do, like math, you're going to have problems. I don't think it's rocket science to figure that out. And the fact that school is structured to be anti-male, meaning they promote everything female and demote everything male. They don't even let them read books about pirates. Nothing. Can't do dodgeball anymore. Can't run around. Can't be aggressive. Can't, microaggressions and trigger warnings. And it's not good. Boys have to be tactile. They have to touch things and wrestle with things. It's just what they are. Patty says, Debbie, that is so true. Mm-hmm. Dana says the word pharma comes from the Greek word pharmakia, which means sorcery. Yes. That's where we get the word from. That's what an apothecary is a sorcerer's playground. Amy says, yep, Debbie. And Patty says, you are so right, Dana. And Dana says, I suggest for everyone to stay away from any and every mind-controlling drugs, folks. Hearts and prayers. I agree. That is the message we put here. Unless it's the drug caffeine, and then I wholeheartedly concur. You should drink lots of that. Or nicotine. You should have plenty of that, too. I'm not suggesting you get it from smoking, though. There are many ways to get nicotine without smoking a cigarette. Nicotine is good for your brain. Caffeine is good for your everything. It's good for everything. Aaron says, is Walter Linda's brother? No. Walter is Linda's husband. Patty says, right. And Amanda says, here's the email address, untetheredlivestream@gmail.com. Thank you, Amanda. Amy says, Mr. and Mrs. Walter and Linda. Right on. Aaron says, I thought so. So you can get gifts. Okay. If you want to send me a gift, email me and I'll send you my address. John says, do loads of things, Jake, just trying to help you out. Well, thank you, buddy. God bless you. I'll take it. Amanda says, yes, Aaron, email or message us and we will send you the address. And Aaron says, I will. And Linda says, Aaron, he lives 90% of time in New Jersey, and I live in Pennsylvania with the kids. So they're kind of married. Amanda says, okay, Aaron. And, oh, got it, says Aaron. And Linda says, yes, Jake, I had a wonderful time. It was always fun hanging out with my adult children. I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad that you're able to get out and experience the world and not feel stuffed up in that house all the time. That's wonderful. So congratulations on that, and I'm glad you had fun. Christine says, the word sorcery in Greek words mean 4 different words. Pharmakia is one of them. One of the 4. My only point is sorcery is drugs. That's why God said sorcery and drunkenness, which means a lot, but is a reference to alcohol and drugs. Right on. Amy Elizabeth says, drugs are evil. My husband died from that poison. And we're sorry for your loss. Patty says, thank you, Jake and Miss Amanda. Great company for me on a Saturday night. See y'all tomorrow. Well, today's Friday, but we'll see you tomorrow, which will be Saturday. So, Christine says, drunkenness is a huge word with a broad meaning. A lot more than just drinking. Right? That's correct. And matter of fact, drinking is good for you a little bit. A little wine for the stomach is good for it. It's good for the spirits. It's good for the stomach. It's good for blood pressure. It's good for your heart. It's good for a lot of things. But drunkenness is not. And the Bible talks against drunkenness. It does not talk against drinking. As a matter of fact, when Jesus was hanging on the cross, they put hyssop mingled with vinegar in his mouth, which is a natural painkiller. That's a drug. And he took it. So Amanda says, good night, Patty. Amy Elizabeth says, bacon. We're not supposed to eat pork. We discussed it during Bible study, and we said we'd eat bacon anyway and then pray for forgiveness. Amy, that is incorrect. I will point you to the verse in the Bible where one of the guys has a vision, and God brings down a sheet with all manner of meats on it. And the guy says, I'm not eating that. And then once again, he has that vision again, all manner of foods. He says, no, sir, those things have never crossed my lips. I'm not going to start eating that now. And God said, all things that I've made are good to eat. How then can you say anything I made is unclean? And this is after the flood. So what he's saying is, after the flood, animals, for starters, are no longer vegetarians, which they were before the flood. They became cagey and afraid of mankind. Why? Because they have to have a sporting chance. That's why, because now they're on the menu. Before they were not. So all things are good to eat. And even if you eat pork, you will not go to hell for eating pork. It is not a commandment. There is no place in the Bible that says you cannot eat pork. There is a place in the Bible where it says the people that started the tabernacle, the 12 tribes who are supposed to be peculiar and set apart from everyone else, they can't eat certain things. They have to eat things a certain way. They have to dress a certain way. They have to follow a lot of rules. I think 266 rules they have to follow that nobody else has to follow. That's not everybody. That's just them. Now, pork is bad for you. It is a sin against the flesh because it will cause heart disease and strokes and all kinds of stuff that's bad for you, high blood pressure, because of the fat content. That being said, pork is delicious, so eat it if you wish. It's not a sin. If it is a sin, it's a sin against your flesh. It's not a salvation issue. So don't let people trick you into things like that. That's what the Pharisees do. They get in the minutia of things, and they twist the words and take things so literally, and they forget the forest for the trees because they're too busy focused on the rules and not so busy focused on why they have rules in the first place. You don't need to pray for forgiveness to eat pork. Sin of the flesh, yes. You will have a heart attack, maybe. You will be out of shape, maybe. You might even have nightmares if you eat a lot of pork. But it's not going to damn your soul. I promise you that. Dana says, here is the link to a documentary called Psychiatry's Reign of Terror, a profession deeply rooted in evil. I don't need to see a documentary to know that. I preach that. I think it's a bunch of hooey. I always have. I can't see any legitimate reason to have psychiatry. It's not good for us. And the more we go, the more we discover that. It's only taken them 25 years to admit that they've been falsely diagnosing everybody with ADHD. And Amanda says, but by the way, if you guys want a trip, go watch that documentary. That's pretty nice. Amanda says, I can't live without bacon and pork chops, LOL. And Amy says, bacon. And Amanda says, thanks, Dana. And Christine says, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Devo's family, first in the United States to put fluoride in the water supply. I'm one city over from there. Right on. Yep, and when they put that fluoride in the water supply, they have to wear a full hazmat suit, and the package has a skull and crossbones on it. And they pour it with gingerly. They pour it gingerly. They don't want to get it all over the place. It's very, very deadly. It is a byproduct of how they make yellow cake uranium. The byproduct of that is fluoride. And they needed to get rid of it, so somebody negotiated putting it in the water supply and us drinking it all the time. Don't know why that is. Christine Marshall says, wow, Dana, I didn't see you say sorcery at the end. LOL, your point. Your own point. Yeah, she's got it. Dana says, God urges us to be vigilant. God urges us to be smart, as the snakes are, wiser than the serpent, yes. Yet to be harmless as doves. God is a master teacher. The Bible is a book of wisdom. Heart exclamation point. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And Christine says, Jesus shared a glass of wine at the supper. Yes, and not only that, his first miracle was turning the water into wine, not just any wine, the best wine, meaning the most potent. It was fantastic wine that everybody got hammered on, including him and his mom. Christine says, Dana, I'll watch it. I will too. Linda Davis says, we finally have had a few nice days around here. My son and I took advantage of it and cleaned up the yard and got gardens ready. Nice. Busy. I got some trash burned off today. That's about all I got done. And I picked up some limbs. Amy says, oh, thanks for the clarification after the flood. I remember now. Right on. Yeah, that was after the flood. Everything became different than before the flood. And also, the restrictions on eating certain things was to the 12 tribes. It wasn't to everybody. You have no worries about eating pork, I promise. Although, it's not good for you, just so you know. Amanda says, I want to plant a garden, but I'm worried the cats will destroy it. I got to fence it in, I guess. Yeah, we got to get some chicken wire and put over the garden area so that you can do that. Christine says, I'm watching it later and I'll comment after, not during, LOL. Christine says, warm finally around here. Right on. And Amanda says, it was 84 degrees here today. Christine says, exactly, 100% Jake on the pork point. Right on. Dana says, Christine Marshall, here is another on my channel. Something to laugh about for a change. Only a few minutes long. Enjoy. You guys go by and subscribe to Dana's channel. She's clearly putting out content, so go check her out and show her some love. Christine says, psychology is a psyop. Yes, it is. Christine says, awesome, Dana, cool. Linda says, oh, my Amanda, that's hot. It was the upper 60s here. Perfect working outside weather. Yes, I love it when it's 60. Between 40 and 60 is perfect for me. I like 45-degree weather. I like that weather. That's perfect. It's warm enough to wear a coat, but cool enough that you can work outside all day. And Amanda says, nice, Linda. Christine says, psychology has mapped out the bad thought process of the troubled mind. It is the counterfeit evil replica of God's objective thought of the good, true mindset and sound mind. I agree with that. I think that's probably a good, wise observation. Amy Elizabeth says, Jake picked up some limbs, arms, legs, which ones? Whoever's probably needs them back. I did pick up some limbs. They were all legs, all left legs. Bunch of people hobbling around to the right here. Amanda says, LOL, Amy. And Amanda says, I made it to the bottom of the chat. Good gracious, I'm here. I feel like I wasn't ever going to make it, but I made it. Still nothing. Just checking. All right. I'm at the bottom of the chat. If you guys want my address, you have to email me. I'll put it on screen again for you. Christine says, the word of God reveals the truth of what is good and warns you of what is unholy, unclean, and evil. Facts. Now, if you listen to man, you are inevitably going to learn some bad mojo. You're going to worry about a bunch of things that really will not help you at all. Like psychology, like science. Now, think about this. If it were true that the devil runs the world, what would you expect to see? If it's true, devil being a tempter, his job is to tempt and to fool people, to trick people, and that's all he can do. That's the only tool he has in his arsenal is trickery. What would you expect to see? Well, you would expect to see a bunch of things that look fake, even though they swear it's real. You would look to see a bunch of true things that have been in the history of the world forever that are coming up to be fake, like psychiatry. You'd expect to see a bunch of mixed signals. You would expect to see a bunch of liars on TV. And everywhere you look, more and more things seem unclear. Nothing seems perfectly sound. That's what you would expect to see, and that is exactly what you see when you look at the world. Get that in your head and understand that everything is bullshit, and then start looking for reality that's underneath it. It's there, I promise. You just have to look for it. The world is a lot simpler than it purports itself to be, and right and wrong is a lot easier to see once you get out of the mindset that they've crafted for you and see the world for what it is. Stop hating people. Stop getting caught up in drama. Stop playing the games. Back up. Look at the whole of the situation and cut out from your lives anything that doesn't make perfect, clear sense. You'll be much happier, I promise. Jake needs a regular episode of Everything is Bullshit. It would help him gather a list for his book. I might do that, Amy. That's a good idea. Christine says, Amanda. And Amanda says, good night. See y'all tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on Untethered Live for Politics. Much love, y'all. Aaron says, good to see you, Amy. And Linda says, good night, Amy. And Amanda says, zipped lips. Christine says, yes. See y'all tomorrow night. Love ya, says Amy. I got them all. I'm at the bottom. I'm staying at the bottom. I'll go for 5 more minutes, and then I got to get out of here. Because I love you. Linda says, I just subscribed to Dana's channel. Thank you, Linda. Everybody go by and hit up Dana's channel and look at her content. I'm sure it's all great. She's a very wise lady. And Amanda says, yes, Amy. And Amanda says, I subbed to Dana too. Right on. Dana, you still hadn't sent me your email address. Did you forget that I asked you about that? Or do you not want me to have it? Either way. I just want it for my records. Dana says, Jake had over 21,000 subscribers on my channel in 2020. And they took my whole channel down and went after my internet protocol. It took me a year to get back. Damn, that's crazy, Dana. I'm sorry to hear that. They do that sometimes. I've been very fortunate so far that they haven't taken me down, and I vaguely pull my punches. I try to follow their rules, but I'm not going to not say something that is true. I'm not going to do that, and they know that already. And that's why I've diversified and put my content on 11 other channels, 11 other platforms, so you'll find it even if YouTube takes me down. But they hadn't done it yet. I have been suspended before. They have suspended me, and I've been in YouTube jail. But they hadn't taken me down, and they did that over the you know what. And they did it quick, even though what I said was 100% correct. There it is. Thank you. I'll get that. Let me copy that. Give me 1 second. Let me put it in my email so that I have a record of it. I thought that you had sent me an email before, but apparently I couldn't find it. I don't know where that came from. I'm going to send you a little test email just so that I have it on my list. Yeah, I do have it. Now it comes up. All right, I got you. All right, I'll send you a little test email just so I got it, to make sure I got it saved. There's nothing in the email. It just says, hello, I love you. All right. Christine says, I got 3 strikes for truth, not in a row, but I'm gone for good if I get another one, so I barely post videos. I know, that's terrifying, isn't it? Terrifying they have that much power. Linda says, I don't do a lot of YouTube or any of other platforms. I usually am just on Facebook. Well, I'm glad you're here with me. That's all you need to do. Amy says, go to Wemkin, Dana. No censorship. 100% free speech. Just create an account and remember your password. Google and Yahoo won't forward the confirmation. Just log back in. Right on. Yeah, I'm over on Wemkin, too. Aaron says, I have family in Kalamazoo, Christine. By the way, I wasn't clear on what I asked you about the other night about Kalamazoo. I was talking about store memorabilia, things that existed in the actual factory that was there. I wasn't talking about guitars, just so you know what I was asking. Amanda says, I told you you should have had it already, LOL. I did have it already, but when I went looking for it, I couldn't find it. But when I pasted in her email address, it popped right up like it was been there the whole time, but I typed it in before. Typed in the name Dana, and it didn't pop up. And I went looking in my email and couldn't find the email that she sent me. I thought she had sent me one before. Oh, Kalamazoo, Michigan. I have a Gibson guitar that was built in Kalamazoo, Michigan, by the way. It's a Humminbird Custom 1970. Dana says, Amy Elizabeth, but YouTube is the most viewed platform all around the world. Many more people get the truth on this one before they shut you down. Right on. That's why I'm here, because it is the most popular. Except TikTok, and I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do the short thing. It's just too much work for such little content. Amy Elizabeth says, like looking for your phone with a flashlight on your phone. Right, exactly. Amanda says, LOL, right, Amy? I'm guilty of the can't remember shit syndrome. I definitely have that problem now. It's a new thing. I didn't used to have that problem. I used to remember everything, and I mean everything. But the older I get, the more I start losing things. I haven't forgotten it. It just doesn't come to mind when I'm looking for it. Eventually, I'll remember it. Amy says, 10 million plus users on Wemkin. And I do get about 100 views per video over there. But nobody likes and nobody comments. So there's that. Dana says, got your message, Jake. Thank you, ma'am. Amy says, and you don't have to worry about getting strikes. That's a good thing. As long as I can, I'll keep posting videos over there, but I don't know that I'm building a crowd. Like I said, I'm getting about 100 views per video, but nobody says anything. I don't know why. And they don't hit the like button either. All the videos have 1 to 2 likes on them, and that was me. But I guess that doesn't matter over there, so I guess it doesn't matter if they do it or not. As long as they're watching it, that's all that matters. And also, I have to upload in 480p. I can't do 720 because the videos are too big, and it won't let me upload anything bigger than a gig. So it has to be under a gig, which means I have to spend 2 hours squeezing it down so that I can upload it over there. But that's all right. I'll do that. But you won't get the best quality that I can produce. I don't do in 1080 either, so I guess that's all right. I record in 1080, but when it goes to YouTube, it automatically converts to 720. I guess you have to really force it to do a 1080. And I don't want to upload every video. I want it to go there while I'm filming it live. If I have to upload videos, it'll take me a whole day to upload to all 11 platforms, and I don't want to do that. I upload to one, and it propagates it to all the others, and then I upload one to ℂ𝕚𝕝𝕝. That's all. That takes 2 hours after every podcast. And I'll have to start pushing your videos on there. Well, please do. I'm working on it. I'm trying to build a audience over there. Ideally, I would like for people from there to start coming and watching the show live. But if they see it there, I guess that's all that matters. All right. I'm out. Christine, thank you, sir, for the super chat. I haven't looked yet, but I don't think it's on there yet, but we'll see. I'm out. I love you guys. Have a great night. God bless you all. I'll see you tomorrow night for politics, and we'll delve into something politically oriented that will inevitably turn into a religious conversation, as it always does. I'm okay with that. It just gives me an excuse to be here. So I'll see you then. God bless you all. Be nice out there. Thanks for watching.